On top of Old Horror Hill, in a secret laboratory, Professor Weirdo and Count Kook were in their monstrous glory.
Hi, welcome to TMR podcast number 9. Today we're talking to Shaun about geopolitics, Israel, and religious and other matters.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I was, should I say, I was lucky enough to make the way over to the Middle East recently because it wasn't fucking really a holiday. I went for a holiday, but it didn't turn out that way. The holiday was Spain and Portugal and yeah,
the normal countries.
Yeah, the normal countries.
So you went, I mean, just to summarize it for the people, you were there with Tess, your good mate. Tess was here on like the first TMR lounge, and Tess lives in Spain. And you two decided that your curiosity about what goes on in the world is compelling, and a place like Israel is just an interesting thing to see.
To be honest, yeah, I mean, I suppose we did a lot of, we've done a lot of research, just like we do research about everything, but we did a lot of research about Israel and that, and I suppose we're just looking for, because we've done quite a few trips through Europe and America and all that sort of stuff, and we're like, well, you know, let's get a bit tropical this time, and let's, you know, go to somewhere weird, and we're like, well, where do you want to go? And we're like, well, we're going to be over there in Christmas, so why don't we go to Bethlehem for in Palestine for Christmas Eve? You know, why not? Tick that off the list. Okay, cool, done that. You know what I mean?
The Palestinians look forward to Christmas over there? Santa Claus coming and everything?
74% Muslim, so I don't think they give two shits about what goes on in...
74, but there's still a lot of Palestinian Christians, yeah?
No, well, that's the other... like the other sort of 14%, they're not necessarily even Christian either. They would be fucking whatever. There's probably, I don't know if you look it up, but there's probably only about, 5 to 10% that would be Christian.
Is Christmas for a Palestinian or Christmas for an Israeli that they get to take over a Palestinian's house? Is that what happens at Christmas time?
Fuck, I don't know about that, do they? I don't know.
Palestinian, alright, let's look it up. What does Wikipedia say? Palestinian Christians, 4%.
4%. Okay, 4%. Cool. Yeah, it is quite low. But anyway, like, they were all just there having a good time. It was like a big party.
So I don't know. We're talking really randomly. Let's fucking tackle this in some type of chronological order.
Okay.
So you board a plane from which country and you land?
I board a plane from Melbourne, and I go to meet Tess in Spain because she's teaching English in Spain at the moment. So stayed there for about 3 weeks, and that was an eye opener as well. Spain is a really sort of superficially unique country. I've never experienced anything like it. I don't know. Have you been there? Have you been?
No.
Yeah. So.
Superficial in what way?
Well, it's in a recession. That's it's no joke. It's in a bad way. But I tell you what, they fucking go to the hilt to make sure that their cities, even little provinces or whatever, look amazing. Like the most clean place I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
And not to mention.
Have you been to Germany?
No. Yeah, I have been to Germany a number of times. Yeah, no. And I haven't been to Singapore, but I can get probably up like that. But like, there is so much emphasis put on it, and the Christmas lights and everything. It was absolutely insane, and it just makes complete sense when you look at the typical Spanish citizen. When they leave the house, they're wearing the best clothes that they've got. The best clothes. And like, I'm not even saying like, okay, cool, this is a nice shirt, I'm wearing my best shirt. No, I'm saying like, literally, that it looks like they just brought them from a shop. Like, they must have lint, fucking whatever. It honestly looks like every single person has gone into a mannequin and they've brought everything off that. A
lot of Europeans are like that. I know
they sort of are, but I've sort of seen this a bit before, but I haven't seen it to this extent. And in the spot where I'm like, hold on, isn't that like, you know? Because I didn't go really to suburb areas, but I was like, hold on, aren't you guys in a recession?
Right?
We were in Malaga, and then we went to Seville, and we went to Granada, then we went to. I didn't really.
None of that Greek style rioting in there.
What do you mean?
In any part of Spain, since the recession and the government pushing them down on the.
To be completely honest with you, there is absolutely no hint from what I saw of any recession going on in Spain. So wherever it's happening, it's not happening in the, business districts and that sort of thing. There is no empty buildings. There's no anything. Everyone's wearing the best clothes. They're out in force at restaurants. Everything's packed. Everything. So I don't know if they're
spending
just
some of that Spanish gold they conquered out of the from years ago.
I think they've just got different priorities, and I mean, like even on a Sunday, there's like shitty sort of generic tapas bar, nothing special, and there's just families all dressed in their best clothes, just out there, just sitting around for hours and hours, just eating and talking, and that's fine, but that's what they're spending their money on, like, you know, retail stuff, and also hospitality sort of business, which is really because I expected to go there and see people begging and all this sort of shit. So I don't know, because I was like, you know, it was like, you know,
Spain's in a recession,
massive, you know, the 40-50%.
Ignitados or something. There was their protesters had like a name that sounded pretty cool, like indignados, like in you know, that had to do with righteous indignation.
Right. Yeah.
I think the what the protesters called themselves, like, you know, in USA it was occupiers, in Spain it was indignados or something.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Well, all I know is when I was in Italy and I went out with a couple of cousins one night. We're going out Saturday night. We're going to go to another province and we're going to go to the main square and we're going to have ice cream and some, you know, drink some liquor and get faced off and they said, "You're not coming out like that." And I went, "What do you mean? No, you're not going dressed like that."
How dare you? Yeah.
No, they were dressed up to the. Like, they were dressed up like they were going to a wedding.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I've only got one pair of clothes for that, you know, because I thought if I go to a wedding, I've got to have a set of clothes." But yeah, they don't go out dressed. They will never go out in thongs. So never go out in like tattered shorts.
It might be a sort of cultural thing or whatever, but you know, if they do have a limited amount of money, generally speaking, throughout the populace, and they're definitely not, you know, spending it on, you know,
food reserves.
Needs to survive. I don't know. They're really but anyway, look, that was that, and then but then another complete, like, we went through Portugal only for about a week, but spent a bit of time in Lisbon, and like it's sort of the complete opposite, because once again they've been in a recession for the past like 150 years or something, but you know, the general concept of the people there is they're sort of like, there's no hiding it. We know it's shit, and we're willing to accept it and deal with it and talk about it like, yeah, it's shit, like life shit, like, you know what I mean? As in like, but you know, that's a complete another story. Like, literally 50% of the buildings in Lisbon are run down, and they haven't been used for 50 years. You know what I mean? They're crumbling, they're shuttered, and but actually, really interesting situations there. One, I forgot the guy's name, but when just over the Second World War, Portugal needed the British to man the coastline with their ships, so they had to pay them heaps of money after the war finished. So there was a very economic savvy leader in place, and he's like, "No, I just got to pay this off, so we're not in debt to the British anymore." So basically, what he did, there was all these protests and that going, you know, raise taxes to like 70% and all this sort of stuff, and like, yeah, just to, like, you know, austerity measures just to pay this massive debt off. And so what he did is he made heroin cheaper than cigarettes. Yep. And he literally just dumbed down the whole population. Like literally just massive epidemic of fucking junkies throughout the whole city. And this was, what, 50 years ago, 60, 70 years ago, something. And then this is sort of where the shift of dealing with addiction in Portugal has come to fruition through dealing with it as a disease. So it's decriminalised. So drugs are decriminalised. So you can't get locked up for possession of any drug there. So they treat addiction in Portugal now as a disease rather than a criminal act.
What's the drug addict rate over there?
No, there is none. Like when I went out, a couple of times I went out, like, everyone's really clean cut and sober. Like, I mean, no one was. There was no junkies. I didn't see any.
You were the only one on drugs.
Yeah, I was the only one. Yeah, I know, and it was fucking good coke. Let me tell you.
Man, like, I'll tell you what. It's some type of like drugs are an extension of some type of psychology of like youthful rebellion, and if like you're growing up. And the only people taking drugs are like junkies in abandoned old buildings, right? You're not going to look up to that, like, yo, in the West, we have this image of, Michael Hutchins or Kate Moss or Kurt Cobain, like really fucking artistic, cool people,
living the
fucking,
life.
distorting meters, and they are kind of rebels. While
But see, you can be them if you sniff that stuff for half an hour, and then it's the opposite.
King of the fucking world.
If we had the image of like the drug user as fucking Billy Bob, at the dandy station, we wouldn't
mentally disturbed.
Like, there wouldn't be a lot of kids taking drugs.
No,
and I think
right.
with Portugal, like that it has such a massive history of so many people being addicted and their lives going nowhere good. Clearly, people have just woken up to whatever. Probably not.
Probably shouldn't take it.
Yeah, and
that too, and they might not have any money, so...
but I really think if we decriminalized all drugs, like, what would happen is the world would go to hell. And
a couple of multinationals might run out of money.
Like, you would actually see things go to shit in the short run of 2-3 years. And like, drug problems would disappear as a major issue, as a crime issue around the world. And within 5 years, the world will be a better place. Like, I do think that'd be immediate. I think that'd be immediate effects. Like,
I think the way people, when you talk about legalizing or decriminalizing drugs, people have this fucking like concept that you can't have all these fucking druggies running around doing that. Like, it's like, I think the statistics are, I'm fairly sure it's only 10%. At least this is in Australia, 10% of drug users abuse it. The rest are only recreational, and they only use it on fairly rare occasions. So I mean, it's a small amount of people who actually are addicted to a substance. But
the other thing too is you can treat that, and the other side of the flip coin is if you make these drugs and decriminalise them and they become so damn cheap, or you can go to the chemist and go and get them, they're not going to be fucking breaking in your house or robbing you or beating your missus up to take your TV set or your iPod.
Look.
Obvious, definitely.
You're not going to have them stealing your shit.
That's true, and as I said, I would say it takes time. Like a good friend of mine grew up in Afghanistan, and to him, heroin and coke is just something.
Breakfast, lunch, and tea.
It's something that losers do. You know what I mean? Like, because it's so common.
It's like looking at a drunk, a guy who's constantly pissed.
Yeah.
And you start to question, say, why is he always drunk? Is he so pissed off with his life? He's so miserable, he needs to break away from that reality?
But it's all these sort of levels with drug taking, isn't it? It's sort of like, I'm not going to relate to alcohol, but like with weed, for essentially it's sort of like, I only smoke joints, and like that's any better than someone smoking billies, or that's any better than someone like eating hash cookies, or it's sort of like, I only like snort cocaine, and that's like any better than smoking crack, or like any better. It's all like, you know what I mean, or like I don't inject, I just just fucking take ecstasy. It's all it's all just a matter of how what world you live in and how you perceive it. At the end of the day, if you want to fix a problem, then you have to have classes in school to manage recreational drug use, and that's quite simply, it has to be born into a person. And this is not just for drug use, this is for everything, for money, for religion, for everything, is, life is all about balance. It's not about, fucking doing one thing until you're dead, or until you overdose, or until you fucking, blow someone up because you think God told you to do it. You know what I mean?
Sure,
it's all about balance.
I mean, I'm really gonna...
Nail it.
I have a problem with the notion that we can educate kids about drug use and it's all going to be fine. Like, the way I see it is you got problems on one end and you got problems on the other. If they're free and freely available, there will be more people using them, because it's just kind of like a supply and demand curve. If there's more people using them, the way human brain works is that there's reward mechanisms, and people can get addicted to shit. You know, people can get addicted to gambling, people can get addicted to food.
But why do they get addicted?
People get addicted to that because of, you know, they make up this thing, addictive personality. I don't really believe in that.
That's crap. Yeah.
But put it this way: if enough, like, there's an element of luck, good luck, bad luck, randomness, especially in people that take drugs when they're down. The probability of developing these self-enforcing loopy pathways.
Yeah.
I've listened to a lot of stuff on addiction, but my central point is in the small portion of the population, it's not that they abuse it; it is that it becomes practically involuntary.
Yeah.
It is that their brain is on such autopilot.
It's a physical. It's a physical.
It's
a physical disease.
To be honest, you could entirely blame them for taking such crazy amounts of fucking drugs over such a consistent period of time that they brought it upon themselves.
Yeah.
But you do get to a point where it becomes a self-enforcing recurring loop, and no amount of education can, you know, change what. On the other hand, you have most crime is related to drugs. I mean, all these criminals living off of selling drugs. All these junkies stealing everything they can because they're addicted to drugs and they need to buy them. I mean, you got two layers of crime that if drugs became cheap, two main sources of crime in just about every Western country would disappear overnight. I mean, we'd live in a better society.
I listened to a lecture just recently. Gabor Mate. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So he was saying that there was a study done with rats, and that when the rats are in a stressful environment, they give them like sweetener. And they get addicted to the sweetener, and then when the rats are in this stressful environment, then they will always take the sweetener, and they'll take it because it's an addiction and allows them to, like, you know, basically a little reward just to get out of the fucking rut that they're in just for a second. Rats that are in a completely safe, sound, happy environment, you can't even convince them to take the sweetener, no matter what. Like, you can't even convince them. So once again, it comes down to, I think, like I was saying before, addiction has got something to do with balance, and that's not balance like necessarily in your personal life, but also balance in the society that you live in. You know what I mean? A lot of people who get seriously addicted to stuff, you can probably nearly all the time trace a causal effect back to
some psychological trauma.
Fucking definitely abuse or something like that happened as like, and I'm saying seriously addicted. Like, I mean, I like getting high, but I'm not fucking addicted to anything. You know what I mean? Like, that's so, you know, like and that has to do with their economic situation, they're like the social stresses of them being raised in a single parent house where the mothers, they've got no emotional support growing up and all the rest of it because the mother has to work so much and all that. So it's now, addiction is nearly a system-based problem. So I think if you talk about addiction, especially with drugs, in any sense, you've got to say there's addiction with, like, you know, addiction has got to be like, it's like saying, if I'm drinking alcohol, that guy's drunk or he's intoxicated. You know what I mean? So, like, someone likes doing drugs, okay, cool, no worries, you're not addicted, that's fine. Like, if you do drugs, you don't have to be addicted to them. You know what I mean? And do you agree?
Like, I do agree with the main premise, which is essentially that there is some deeper psychological cause for addiction.
Definitely.
And I think that as a society we kind of need to look at it and think of it that way.
Yeah.
Now, I don't lightly jump to the conclusion, okay, you do drugs just, you know, when you go out and have fun, so you're not addicted, so you don't have a problem. Like, I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, I think everybody has a chance of having a problem. I don't think, like, you could declare yourself,
no.
I cannot get addicted to stuff. Like, okay, I have a track record of
Yeah.
of that not happening in my life, despite a number of opportunities to get addicted to shit. But I don't think of myself as, you see what I mean? Like,
definitely.
I have a problem with the type of mindset of, okay, I'm not the type of person that could ever get addicted. I don't think anybody should think that way.
I think you're right. And while we're just on this point right now, let's just flip the conversation so that everyone completely understands that, in the terms of addiction as a psychological humanity disorder, you got to think that drugs are only just a small part of addiction, such a small part. When you talk about people's addiction to gaining profit, the amount of influence drugs have on society compared to the amount of influence that the addiction of profit has on society is absolutely insignificantly fucking minute. You know what I mean? Because the addiction to profit will, if not unchecked, and if we let it go as far as it's gone and continue this way, destroy the world. It'll destroy us. It'll destroy nuclear war, whatever it is. But that it's all. I do relate a lot of very the most detrimental aspects of the human psychology to do with the addiction for profit. Definitely.
No, man, I would. I don't know, Chris.
No, I totally agree with it. I think that's a bigger addiction, full stop, and it's right across. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest pitfalls of the capitalist system. Not saying I'm a socialist or a communist,
but
I find that
you have to say that.
No, I have to say that. I have to say that because straight away you get people saying, "Oh, socialist."
Socialist. I mean, we had a socialist.
So next system.
No. If it doesn't, like I said before, if it doesn't take care of everybody, then it doesn't work.
Yeah, I fucking completely agree with that. Completely and utterly agree with that. And if you are, like we were talking about in the car just before, if you are going to fucking build this, a nice, fucking, fair, moral, just system, then why wouldn't you just have, inbuilt mechanisms so that every single human being is looked after on the planet?
Yeah, well, why not?
Well, why not?
There's enough money there to do it.
Fuck yeah, definitely.
But it's just been
resources there to do it. Yeah.
It's something.
So let's move out of Portugal and let's move on to my favourite subject.
Yeah, all right. So we went on a beautiful tangent. Talked about Spain, Portugal, and drugs.
Yeah. Let's move on to genocide, and we're not talking 1942 genocide. Let's talk about 2014 genocide.
2014 genocide.
Yeah, the genocide of Palestinians in Israel.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look, I actually almost resent Chris for presenting it that way. I don't fucking I don't know. I really love talking to people that aren't, I think everybody that's grown up in Israel, I think any country that has to put you to military, no matter what, you clearly see that there's some level of brainwashing going on over there.
Fuck yeah, man! I was out in a few clubs there, and man, these really pretty girls. This tripped me out because I had to think, oh no, that would have made them prettier, but no, they're really pretty girls. They had a certain coldness to them. They weren't. You could see that something had, maybe I'll just look into things pretty deeply, but you could see that something was very hardened about them. You know what I mean? And I thought about it for a while because it kept coming up when I kept seeing these pretty girls all dressed up and their sort of faces just, you know what I mean? And they're sort of tough. They're not petite, like you'd see someone on Chapel Street or someone it's really soft, little, but no, there's a toughness to them, you know what I mean? And it's because fucking everyone wants to blow them off the face of the planet. That's why you can see why they have to go to the links they do. So, but I'm
trying to let's probably we'll frame this in terms of chronology of what happens when you land, but. The way, let me just preface the whole conversation about Israel. It's a tough conversation to have, and let me first of all.
It's a tough conversation here, but when you're there, it's not a tough conversation.
Well,
no, it's not because.
So all right, let's talk about it.
Well, before we move forward, because you were about to put something down when I said the genocide of Jews, because every time I hear the word genocide, straight away the whole Jewish thing comes up. End of the war. the German persecution of the Jews. And I'm sure it all happened, and I'm not a denier of all that. But there's genocide all around the planet, but it never gets brought up. It's always just the Jews the Jews. When genocide and Jews, that's it. There's nothing else in the book about genocide and
the Congo or
we don't talk about that. It's not genocide,
Rwanda.
Rwanda.
Russia.
More people are dying. In genocides in Africa, there's fucking like triple the amount of people that have died.
China, Mao's eliminated in his reign about 80.
Stalin and Mao starved 50 million people to death or something.
But that's what it never gets brought up like that. That's forgotten. That's forgotten genocide.
And look, the reality is, and I want to also say this before we start talking about it. Like, I personally looking at, say, the Jewish people. Pretty fucking impressive over there. I mean, if you look at the number of scientists, authors, writers, creative people, and for them to be oppressed in just about every European country, and then figure out a way to go from not having a right to go outside a certain quarter to running the whole economic system is pretty freaking we're talking about impressive human beings over here. I think they have.
You might get a reading at the Jewish Council of Australia. That sort of attitude there, Sonny.
But
I sound on the fucking Freemason or Limbo website.
But
we'll go first. You'll be saved. That's all right.
I'll never get a speech there. I can tell you that.
But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing, though. I think that while you have this history of being a second-class citizen and oppression, it just brings out the best of you, that the second that those people got into a driving seat where they have all the guns, all the weapons, all the money, all the fucking control in a country, in their history they were never in that position. And I think even to their surprise somewhat, they're completely abusing it to
and extremely paranoid too.
Yeah.
Worse than America.
Yeah.
So look, man, I'm gonna try to get.
Let's try to extract some home truths and not the bullshit we see in the media.
Let Shaun talk about it. Literally talk about it in terms of what the first couple of days there, your first impressions, and then the main
before we hit it, I'm gonna go.
Well, Chris,
I'll just disappear.
This is gonna be.
See you, brother.
You're gonna see this.
I'm gonna have to watch it. I'm just. You hear yourself?
Yeah. This is awesome. We should just get a pair of these and walk around everywhere. I'd love to hear myself talk.
And I actually, fuck it. I'll put it in the same audio jack as you. Yeah. So now.
Oh yeah. Okay.
All right. Oh fuck! This is actually fucking loud. I don't know what you're on about.
Yeah, it is pretty loud. There you go.
All right. It's actually no. I'll tell you what, I'll announce that we're back. Okay, we are back. Chris has left. Chris has got a house to build, tradies to deal with. He bitches about it all the time. But, Shaun and I have left the best to last in this part of the podcast. As we announced earlier, he had a trip to Israel, which was quite eye-opening, and he was quite interested to see, firsthand what the hell is going on there.
Definitely, yeah.
And after 3 weeks in Spain and Portugal, which sound like a party to me, playing to wherever.
We went to Morocco too. Went to Africa.
Fine.
That was hectic. Hey, that was the most Muslim country I've been to. I've been to Turkey. I've been to Malaysia. That was the most Muslim country I've been to. It was like a bit scary sort of thing. Apart from Spain and Portugal, Africa and Morocco and Israel, they're not necessarily holiday destinations. Maybe if you're in Morocco on a fucking tour guide, like a tour, then they look after you. They don't take you to but me and Tess would just sort of go anywhere we wanted, and there are people following us. There's begging, not begging, trying to get money off you. Like in Asia, they're just oh, buy this, and you're like, fuck off, I'm not going to buy it, and then they leave you alone. But they follow you like in Morocco, and they're like, you know, bring their friends, and then the friend comes and follows you, and then they're like, you know, waiting around a corner, and then you're like, oh, okay, so it's you again, and then I essentially, because, you know, I've had a few bad experiences when I've been overseas, so I, like, you know, keep my eyes open for that sort of stuff, and I had Tess with me, so I, you know, always trying to protect, you know, look after Tess, so you know, it's just, it was like, it took people trying to scam money off you to a whole new level, like that I'd never really witnessed before, so it was, it made you stay on your guard a fair bit, you know.
Yeah, there's I've never been to Morocco. When I lived in Libya for a long time, I met a lot of Moroccans.
Yeah.
And they all went to Libya to escape the poverty of Morocco, and
plenty of it. Yeah.
They generally held sort of menial jobs and whatnot. So I did imagine that there would be, how do I put it? You know, hard to use the word working class, you know, as most people aren't freaking working, but there'd be a struggling underclass out there, you know, trying to just scrape a living anyhow possible, which I imagine.
But that, you know, I don't know how much. Once again, you know, the people who are hassling you, they're doing alright. They're dressed in like the finest in the nicest clothes, and like you know, they've got the cars, they got all that sort of stuff. So like, you know, they make their money. They do alright. You know what I mean? From scamming tourists, like they're waiting for the boat to pull in, then they just on ya. They remember what you look like, because I stand out. I'm like 6'7" and like, you know, white, especially in a really Muslim country like that. I stand out like fucking dog's wool. So I mean, I'm an easy target, but you know, I think it's just because Tess doesn't wear the headscarf, and that's all right, because I'm there to sort of. She wouldn't do it even if I wasn't there. So
it'd be funny. Like, what was the reason?
Well, the thing is, I give Tess all my money when I go overseas. This is sort of the way we work things, because she's good with it, and I'm fucking hopeless. So I'll give her her money, and then she pays for everything. They don't like that one bit, because I'm standing there behind her, and then she's paying for something, and they're like trying not to look at her. No, you're like, it's fucked up. But like, I just like, it's just the little things like, you know, walking down the beach, and oh no, that was in Israel, but walking down the beach, and there's, you know, everyone's sort of walking up and down the sand. No one knows how to swim. So, like, no one's in the water, you know what I mean? And even if they could swim, it'd only be the guys, because, and any time you see kids playing, it's just all little boys, you know what I mean? Kicking the football or whatever you know, it's all boys. There's never a girl out, and if there is a girl out, she's just, you know, covered completely, and
you know, like, that fucking, actually, that shocks me, because, I don't know, like, fuck, when I was growing up, you know, the Libyan dudes, and these guys were, whatever, 16, 17, right? Yeah. They'd all, like, gang up in a couple of cars, and they drive right through Tunisia, and they go to Morocco. And they go to Morocco to get laid, man. Because, like, I don't know, somehow that was the place to be.
I wasn't like, there. But, like,
it would have really, like, I don't know, something would have changed over the last decade or so. Mm.
Like, alcohol's illegal there, but there's still bars and shit all up and down, like, the main sort of street and that, so you just, you know, you can't be seen with it and that sort of thing. So it's sort of like, it's, you know, and there's heaps of fucking hashish and all that sort of stuff. So they're in terms of, you know, fundamental Muslims, they're pretty progressive in that sense.
Alright, Israel, man, let's get to it.
We get on to Israel. Okay, so I mean, look, there's so many things to talk about, but I think, you know, it'd probably be interesting to try and relate it to what people know about Israel to what is actually happening there. So it just depends how much people listening actually know about it. But you know, we got into Jerusalem like 7 a.m. in the morning or something like that. It was snowing. There was snow everywhere.
Wow.
And honestly, it's, you know, climate change, good stuff. And then in the middle of the desert, snow everywhere. And it's just sort of like going in, I thought like, because Israel, a fairly wealthy country, good businessmen, Jewish are, and mate, it honestly looked like a fucking third world country. And I think, look, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I honestly think that it was because they didn't know what to do with the snow. They were waiting for it to melt. All the trees were broken. Shit was just fucking everywhere. Just crap all over the streets. Broken branches. Just it honestly looked like there'd just been fucking a tornado go through there. And that sort of was just a side thing. We're like, well, this is a bit fucking black. Like, what's going on here? And then you sort of, get into the sort of heart of Jerusalem, and then just every 40% of the males are dressed in, the black outfit with the hair things, the curls and the hair and the hats and all that. People standing.
People wearing like the black brick here and shit.
Oh fuck yeah. People standing at bus stops with the Torah, like just hitting their head against it, like praying and praying openly in the street, just just talking to the Bible, there was so many realizations of,
isn't it, would you say, because have you been to the Palestinian territories?
Definitely.
Now here's a question. I mean, as far as fundamentalist religion, what's more in your face? Is it the Muslims or the Jews?
No, 100% fucking 100% Jews, 100%. Yeah, but see,
that's an interesting observation.
The one thing that I can, take my hat off, so to speak, to the Jewish religion is that the females, it's a very matriarchal society.
Yeah.
Females are not repressed in any way, shape or form. They are happy, love and life, you know what I mean? The males are the one that are indoctrinated to be the holy ones, to be the, you know what I mean? And not in Muslim culture, the females are the holy ones, they're just not allowed to be seen, you know what I mean? So, so, but,
after we finish talking about Israel, which I anticipate will take another half an hour, but I really want to at the end revisit the tangent on sort of matriarchy and feminism, the way we talk about women and see women, and this idea came to me on a Facebook chat on Thursday morning.
Yep.
And then I was on the plane back from Sydney, sitting next to this lady talking about, she was reading Osho, she was reading philosophy. She was really, 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 really smart, interesting lady, an artist. And we wound up talking about feminism. And anyway, I don't want to detract from it a lot, but it's actually been something that's been on my mind, and I wouldn't mind having a chat about it. But
nice.
You're talking about Israel. You're saying that women are the one good thing is that you could see that it's a matriarchal society.
Yeah. Well, the women pass, because I dated a Jew once, and before I knew anything about anything, I was just a little fucking egotistical little brat and didn't know anything about anything, and she was gorgeous, so I was like, awesome, fucking sweet, and believe what you want, I don't give a shit, but the women passed down the, because she talked about it, she's like, 4 or 5 months in, and then she's like, so, do you know much about, the Jewish religion and all that, because the female has to pass it down to the children. And even though my limited knowledge about it, I was like, yeah, that's going to be a problem. I don't think we can continue this. I think every child should have a blank slate, and then they can choose if they want to become a Jew later on. Go fucking become a Jew, but hopefully, they've got enough smarts about them. But anyway, so so the females vary. Is it the guys are the ones that are walking around with their Bibles, and they have to be in by a certain time and all this sort of stuff. The females are just having a good old time, and they're all smiling, they're all happy. You know what I mean? Rather than somewhere like Africa, and there's not too much smiling going on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fuck.
Going into Jerusalem. So it was just weird. There was just one real. I'll probably be with me for the rest of my life. But we sort of got off the shuttle and standing there trying to find our sort of hotel, our apartment, and there's just shit all over the streets. There's people praying on the street. There's fucking Just like I just was like this. Everything stood still for a second, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just a really massive, the biggest culture shock I've ever been in my life. You know what I mean? Like, just and sort of probably would be better saying this at the end of the conversation, but it seems to me at the end of my trip, they've sort of forgotten what we're here to do as a human being. You know what I mean? They've sort of forgotten now we could be here to do anything, but like, if you look at human beings as being, as what I like to do and what I don't like to do. Well, I like to be happy, and I don't like to be sad. You know what I mean? Like, really, basically, and there doesn't seem to be too much happiness running around with the way that they've decided to live their life. You know what I mean? The beliefs and all that sort of thing. So it seems they're a little bit confused as to what the whole human experience is about.
Like, you were talking about Jerusalem initially. I mean, I know Jerusalem is a city that, you know, has stood there for several, maybe 3,000 years. It's housed definitely prominently Islam, Christianity, and Judaism.
Yeah.
It you know, is at a crossroads of, you had all these trade routes that went from Asia to Europe and from Asia to Africa, all going through, you know, Jerusalem and then, you know, whatever it was, Mesopotamia and Babylon at the time. So you have this cultural melting pot. I imagine the architecture must be coming in from all types of cultures, places, styles, and I guess with this whole painting the picture of great diversity, like, what does it look like? Does it look like a multi-ethnic, multinational city that's a global metropolitan, or does it look like something else?
Fuck no, man. It looks like fucking St. Albans. I'm not fucking with you. It looks like St. Albans. It may be in the CBD of Jerusalem, like, if there even is one, the fucking few streets that it spans near Temple Mount and, like, near the...
So, like, wait. What does St. Albans look like? Because...
so people want to know. No, it looks like a dodgy suburb in a city. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, it's dirty, run down, no buildings are upkept, no paint jobs, no... You know... it's not like you would walk in and you go, oh yeah, this is a really successful society. You know what I mean? You'd be like, fucking, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, is this what Holy Land should look like? Like, I mean, I was thinking that it would be like at least just new building, like reasonably upkept buildings and that sort of thing. Just, you know, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was expecting some sort of decency, like pride in the city. Like, I don't know what the fuck, I don't know what the council's doing or anything like that, but like,
ancient site after ancient site with nice lovely plaques and fences around.
I haven't gone into many places and like ragged on it, but like I was like, it's a shithole. Like it's like I mean, even in Portugal, like half the buildings are like you know, because of the economic crisis, but like you know, Portugal looked close to as decrepit as what Jerusalem looked like. You know what I mean? And there's no recession in Israel. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, maybe they fucking want to, you know, keep a rustic look to the place, whatever. But at the end of the day, anyway, where are we going with that? So, basically, look, it's not the most upkept place. So that was this big culture shock that you can't walk into and you're like, oh, this definitely wasn't what I was expecting. And then sort of everyone's you know, a little bit on edge. You know, they sort of you know, it is definitely a society of, well, when you've got people you know, teenagers, well, not teenagers, young adults under 20 walking around with machine guns, could they just take them home? They just walk around with them. There's always someone. If you walk out in the main street, there's always someone with a machine gun. There's someone somewhere. You know what I mean? You could just go machine gun, machine gun, machine gun. I've never seen so many fucking guns in my life, man. Like so many guns, man. It just became blatant. Oh yeah, so that guy's fucking buying broccoli and he's got a machine gun. Yeah, cool, awesome. yeah, fucking machine guns, great. You know, it's sort of like if there was a way to make sure that everyone knew that you know, we're in a state of constant war, then get the army to bring home machine guns. You know what I mean? Like, because, you know, it's just this constant, like, barrage of, you know, just remember, you know, you might be fucking called up and we might need to go to war soon. You know what I mean? Like,
but it's bizarre when you look at actual history of when the last terrorist attack was. I mean, it, like... I don't know. I wish we could pull up the statistics, but it's like a single-digit number over the last decade. Dead Jews from terrorist attacks.
Oh yeah.
It was something insignificant, you know. Like more of them died in workplace accidents, probably, than from Palestinian terrorists.
Probably, yeah, definitely.
You know, but we don't have workplace safety inspectors walking about, you know, with I don't know, whatever they'd walk around with, you know, loudspeakers, binoculars, and fluoro gear. Like,
So yeah, basically, so you got to get over all these like little sort of hurdles to start with, and then, you know, also another thing is that they're sort of like France in a bit of a way. Like they're quite, you know, quite rude. Like, and I think that's just, if you look at their situation and you look at, you know, them against the world sort of mentality, then, you know, that they think, you know, that it's not very a customer, you know, service friendly place. You know what I mean? Like, you ask for information and they'll give it to you. It's not like they're going to fucking brush your side, but, you know, there's no you know, happiness about it. You know what I mean? So
okay.
Yeah. So anyway, basically, okay, I'll talk about Temple Mount. Okay, so do you know much about Temple Mount?
Well, there's the Temple of Solomon, as it's called, and on top of it is the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Yep.
And there's the wall of that temple that is considered a holy site by the Jews, and that's where they go in with their, like, you know, nodding lots and putting in messages in the wall.
Yeah. So no matter how much reading, no matter how much on the news you see, no matter how much documentaries you watch, whatever, there's no substitute for being there. Probably like anywhere, but this place is absolutely like, once you're there, you actually realise the cornerstone of every religion in the world and the cornerstone of these belief systems which have engulfed humanity, for right or wrong, whatever. So Temple Mount, essentially, if anyone doesn't know, it's 200 by 300 metre rectangle sort of square rectangle area. At the moment, it's got two mosques on it, and then it's got the Western Wall, the Wailing Wall, which is where you see them do that. So that's on the side of it, and then the Catholic Church is over behind it. So basically, 400 years ago, I don't know. Last time, like, there's been so many sacks of the city and fucking Muslims come in, Christians come in, you know, crusades, this and that. So I think 400 years ago, so I think, you know, Muslims came in and they you know, sacked the city, and they knocked down the second temple. So they're not synagogues, they're temples. So they're the only temples that can be built in the world, from what I remember. The only thing...
the only temples, like...
So the temple is like the holiest place in sort of the Jewish, you know, religion. It's sort of like where the only place you can actually like speak to God or something. Like I'm paraphrasing, but anyway. So this Western Wall is the only structure that's left. It's literally just a wall. It's the only structure that's left from that second temple that was knocked down. And there's two mosques on Temple Mount. So Temple Mount is basically the holiest site for any religion in the world. So one of the mosques has a rock in it that Muslims believe is the first rock that was ever created in the world. So yeah, it's the second most holy site for Muslims. Mecca is the first, and then Temple Mount's the second. And yeah, so there are massive powers at work, lobbying powers at work in the Jewish political system to try and have those mosques knocked down, because they believe that if they build the third temple, God will return. If they build the third Jewish temple, God will come back into that temple. He will return to earth. The gravity of what I just said is destruction of the world, because that's a third world war. So if these lobbying powers win,
just like visualize though, like, and it's there is no evidence that God ever
existed,
roamed the world or chilled out with us, or
no.
I mean, if you look at even
there's no evidence that God ever asked anyone to start a fucking religion,
or that the audacity to go like, we are the chosen people. Like, wait a fucking second.
How many
you are as ethnically mixed as anybody.
Yeah.
In fact, you come from a region of more ethnic mixing, of more fucking East-West invasions. We had the Mongols and the Turks, and
isn't it funny how Jesus has suddenly gone from being a Middle Eastern man who should have predominantly like dark black skin to a fucking white, like Caucasian, like how over the times, like he was born in like would die of skin cancer if he fucking lived in fucking
But just visualize the notion of like, we're the chosen people of God, right?
Yeah.
So wait, is there a God? It's a matter of belief,
Faith.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about faith is the reason it's called faith is because it's not knowledge.
Yeah.
And so there's a reason why they call it faith, is because you can't know for sure. So it's all hypothetical. Like, you know what I mean?
But no. What the bit that really kind of gets to me, right?
Yeah.
Is I don't have a problem with spirituality. In fact, I think that the mysteries of this world are so freaking huge that if you're a rational person, you're going to visualize some way to fit this puzzle that contains miraculous things, that contains intelligence outside of the body, that contains miracles, or I don't have a problem with those things. You know what? To me, that there's something that we fill in the gap of understanding. To my understanding, the world is such that, miraculous things do happen every day.
Fuck yeah, definitely.
But at a concept of I may have some level of spiritual belief or speculation. I am not going to, on the basis of my spiritual belief, advocate that I kill people, destroy their temple, potentially start another world war. Like, I actually am not gonna fucking play around with other people's lives based on my spiritual outlook on the universe. I don't feel that as you know what I mean. It's kind of like an internal thing. If there is it's like Jesus himself said, was or purported to have said, the temple of God is within you. You're not.
Yeah.
And I find that in a place where people switched religion so many times, where there was the most trade, the most ethnic mixing, that there is somehow from there is one people that is a chosen people. I mean, it's fucking like.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like going to Brazil.
Yeah.
That has, I mean, look at them. They're from Japanese to black to white and every shadow.
It's the same thing.
And saying we're the chosen race, like it makes.
No, it's the same thing. It's the same fucking thing as and it gives you so many liberties once you tell yourself that. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing as fucking. What are they? If you Google it, there would be like something like recorded religions 2,500. What? You got the right one? Like, fucking, I mean, you've been around for a while, but the Egyptians were around for a while, they worship fucking cats. So, like, I mean, you know, did they get it? Like, and then before that, and then the Aztecs had about 10 gods, like, 10 gods, and they used to fucking sacrifice, like, 50,000 people at once, you know, in the space of 8 hours, like a procession of fucking sacrifices at the top of a fucking pyramid for the god. You know, so did they get it right? Because they lived for fucking a couple of thousand years. You know, you think, is this it? Is this, are you sure that you're going to relate your life to something that, you know, anyway, like I was saying, so Temple Mount, holy site, if the lobbyist groups get their way, Third World War, because, you know, if they knock down those mosques, then fucking it's all over. You know what I mean? Nuclear war.
Like,
but yeah. Do you know that there's actually, there's actually lobbyists, let me get this right, there's lobbyists that actually try to lobby against the state of Israel, because they believe that the only thing that has the right to be able to grant Israel a statehood is God himself. So they're actually trying to dissolve the state of Israel. I'm not fucking with you. It is incredible, man. Like, but it gets deeper. I'm not fucking scratching the surface now. So anyway,
that is a classic.
It's cool.
So like, I'm so Jewish, I will abolish the state of Israel out of my depth of belief.
How Jewish are you? Well, you know, I'm willing to strap on myself. I'm willing to fucking get rid of my whole country. Like, anyway, look, okay, so we went on a tour of Temple Mount and all through the churches and fucking yada yada, and so basically got to after this 5 or 6 hour tour, taking us through the Armenian religions, all these different religions. Every single fucking religion, okay, it comes down to a point of a dude, okay, about 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, saying that he was talked to by God. That's what every religion that we've got, you know, today, as the very core base. There was a dude about 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, and it's took me 5 hours to work out, like, because you don't think of it like that, you know what I mean? But then this guy's saying, and this, and he was talked to at this bush, and he was talked to here, and Muhammad was talked to fucking walking through the desert, and then you're like, hold on. So every single religion's fundamental base is some guy 2,000 or 3,000 years ago getting talked to by God. If someone walked up to me on the street today and said, God just said this to me, I'll be like, lock this motherfucker up. You know what I mean? Like,
if we were looking for those people, right? If you actually, you know, if you and I said we want to meet people that are talking to God on the daily, we would fucking end up in a mental hospital. Like, inevitably. Yes.
You wouldn't make it, man. Like someone would fucking like rat you out and you'd be like fucking.
I mean,
that's what I mean. Like,
but also,
thank God for faith, but like faith. Yeah.
Think about like how accurate these religions are when most of them come up in times of oral tradition, right?
Yeah.
Now imagine we're talking about John Lennon, right?
Yeah.
I mean, fucking John Lennon, but we've never seen a picture of John Lennon. We've never seen a video of John Lennon. We've never heard the Beatles sing. We've never heard him sing. It would be, there was this one man with voice that carried through the air and liberated your soul and made you understand the secrets of the universe. And like, if what we were left with is first, second, third hand oral accounts of actions and beings, like, you and I, right now, today, would be talking about John Lennon like a Jesus Christ type of figure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Who saw into the depths of the meaning of life and preached peace and love not war, and you know, who was killed, crucified for his beliefs by these, you know, hordes of assassins or whatever, you know, Satan himself. The method of transferring history, of transferring knowledge through a tradition that doesn't record it in any precise way. You know, in a sense, you and I are robbed of lovely myths. I mean, the stories we would have about John Lennon, Muhammad Ali, Theodore Roosevelt, Charles de Gaulle or whatever, those would be freaking, it would be like Hercules or, some type of godlike mythology happening, and we don't have that in our age. Yeah. But you got to realize that was the norm back then, and that Jesus and Muhammad, could have been the equivalent of today. Some dude that meditates a lot and happens to have a lot more charisma than the next guy.
Hey, this is what I mean. I have no doubt Jesus probably existed. I have no doubt that fucking he was a very smart, intelligent, whatever the fuck, dude. And I don't believe that he parted the sea, or I don't believe that he fucking
Moses parted the sea.
Sorry. What did he do? He did some shit.
He water into wine.
I don't know. Yeah, water into
cured
wine.
The sick.
Look, I don't know. If we fucking got all of the humanity's greatest minds on it, we could probably turn fucking water into wine now. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Well, you basically just add some grapes and
we figured that out. Fucking damn it.
Ferment for a bit, and there you go.
There you go. Ta-da! So look, basically, just being there and actually standing in the area itself, and then hearing all the stories and investing energy and time into it, and then actually, being, ground zero itself, and then you sort of, at the end of it, you're fucking like, oh, look, I'm a bit faithed out, I don't know what the fuck's going on here anymore, I don't know, it all sort of relates it back to one big system, you know what I mean? One big sort of control system that, it was a way of explaining things, just like science is today, and it just, it was a way of explaining how the universe happened, how this happened. Who knows? I don't know. There could be God, there could not be. They fucking I don't know. But at the end of the day, I've got to rely on the information that is available to me, and that's not just what my parents taught me. That's fucking like everything that I have been made privy to in my life through the internet, through fucking movies.
Can I ask you a question? You're at the Temple Mount, and you're going through various religions, and it's always based on what some guy said. But now, we have a building, and you rock up, at least once a week, but better yet, every fucking day at noon, and you bow down, and you do what we tell you, and you give us money, right? I mean, does it sound like some type of a racket, as opposed to Islam, Judaism, Christianity, and whatever not? It might as well be the Gambinos, the Gaudis, the Lucianos.
Definitely.
We are we are the fathers of this society. You give us weekly.
Well, once again, it's sort of
money.
It's sort of a control system in the fact of the people perpetuating the narrative. Are the people with the power. They're the ones that feed the information down to the masses, and in a way, the Muslim religion Islam is sort of similar in a way, but they've sort of micromanaged it to the point where they actually feed it down to the person closest to their wife or to their daughters or something like that. So instead of with Christianity, they feed it down to the people coming to church or all the rest of it. What Islam do, they feed it down to the people that are closest to them, and to a massive extent, to the extent that no one's even allowed to see what you look like. You know what I mean?
It was. I've read. There's a book called by Leslie Hazelton. It's called First Muslim. It's about the life of Muhammad, and I'm happy to recommend this book. It's a really good book, and. You can see it. It's the history of Muhammad written 40 years after his death. It's probably the most reliable account that we have. But fundamentally, there is this guy who meditates on top of a mountain every single day. He's an outsider in society, and in the society that institutionalizes clan warfare and slavery, that institutionalizes religion that preaches all these values while they have markets where, you could fucking do anything for money. Yeah. From the worst types of prostitution to killing people to whatever. It's kind of like there are a caravan trade route society that import many good things and many vices from all around. And this guy comes in, And God knows, he probably comes up with some revelation through his meditation and then tries to change things for the better. But you could see, right, as he's doing it, it's a 20-year process.
Yeah.
Like, you could almost get the feeling that he's kind of like, whatever God says is what really is the pragmatic, situational thing for him at that moment.
Yeah.
Like, he's got too many wives, and then he figures out, well, they could all be the mothers of Islam, and I don't have to, like, deal with them on a daily basis. The enemy caravan is passing right by us, like, we could totally rob them. Well, God says it's actually okay to rob them on this specific day. And, you know, like, it... What I'm trying to... Like, what I am trying to get at is... there is a core of spiritual value.
Yeah.
But then there is a life of an individual over 20 years, of which a lot is recorded. Yeah. And they're allowed to reference any of his spiritual teachings or any of his actions throughout his life, and then use any of those as justifications for doing whatever they want to do. Yeah. Now, if I recorded, if you were like the ultimate,
hone this right into anarchy. But anyway, continue. Like,
if you were the ultimate statesman in Australia, whatever, our prime minister that you know kicked out all the American bases and basically neutered the mining companies and then gave, build the best infrastructure, did all these good things. Like, no matter who the fuck you are and what you do, if people get your whole life to cherry pick shit that you did, and everything you ever said, you could dig up a justification for anything.
Absolutely.
Anything.
Absolutely.
And these religions are so broad, and as I said, even though most of what, happens in the story, like of somebody like Muhammad, certainly in the story of like someone like Jesus, is wise, inspirational, has, both practical and spiritual value. The institutions that take that on board have infinite ammunition to pursue their domination, power agenda, and enslavement of humanity. Definitely. Like, it's almost like the same recipe of some enlightened dude comes along, leaves out a message, some other dude comes straight behind him, usually 50 years later, slightly alters the message, and builds a racket. Builds a fucking domination machine.
Just like you're saying there, I mean, the fucking current Bible, was completely rewritten by Constantine,
Council of Nicaea.
He didn't like the fact that women had so many rights, so he fucking rewrote the Bible, and that's the version of the Bible we had today, and that was like 400 years after it was fucking, written. The Bible was written 200 years after Jesus died. Even with the fucking technology capabilities we have today, if we tried to fucking keep a valid record of something for 200 years, like, I'm sure it'd get fucking fairly altered along the way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even back then, they're fucking Flintstones, like, writing on fucking, like, you know what I mean?
You're talking,
rock tablets and shit. Like,
you're talking Napoleonic Wars here, like, wait a second. You don't have a clear-cut record of anybody at that era, even with all the modern technology, and even though they had printing presses. Just imagine some priest during that time. I mean, he might have written some stuff. Maybe you'd preserve that. A record of anyone's life.
200 years after he's dead.
Now, can you imagine, the notion that they're reconstructing Jesus' life 200 years after his death with any...
And why was it written 200 years after he died? Like, why, if he did such amazing shit, why wasn't that shit written down straight away? Like, everyone should have been taking notes. It's like, okay, and today he fucking performed his 20th miracle, like, you know what I mean? Like, fucking,
I mean, I think it's the reasons behind it, I think, are... Religions are control structures. There are indeed a great many freaking enlightened individuals, men, women, that come across and have a message. And every once in a while, the power structure looks at one of those and says, man, we can work with this. We can work with this. I like this turn the other cheek stuff. Like, maybe people are going to stop complaining about what we do to them. Like, actually, bring me more about this Jesus. We're going to rewrite some of it. We'll write some books, and hopefully we'll turn these rebellious Jews into harmless Christians. I mean, I think that was the idea with Christianity, because it was created by the Roman Empire because the Jews were rebelling too freaking much. Now, Islam, probably some guy wanted to conquer half the world, and, have all these warring tribes, and if they all believe what that Muhammad guy wrote 40 years ago, holy shit, like, we'd get on the same page and like, go to Jerusalem and run that shit. I think most religions end up being created and run by pragmatic men for pragmatic reasons that have more to do with power. And then, to tie it back to Israel, you have this one place where all these control systems clash, and somehow, the original cause, if like all the mafia dons got together and sat around a table, man, they'd probably be able to work something out.
Definitely,
They would probably be able to work something out.
And they call it religion. No.
They'd unite it and make the one world religion.
Just can I say something? Fucking, I just want to say, like, with the whole Islam culture with women and that, I find it absolutely appalling, but I just like to say, I've said this I think a couple of times in other podcasts, but like, we know what you're fucking doing, you know what I mean? It's no secret, we know exactly what you're fucking doing, you know what I mean? All males like a girl to, like, stand beside them and just shut the fuck up. I don't personally, but I can see the value in a female, standing there and not really talking too much and just being like, no one else is allowed to see her. No one, just that's my own personal property. That's mine. No, we know what the fuck's going on. You know what I mean? Because I'm just cutting through the red tape here, you know what I mean? I like my women outspoken. If they're not as smart as me, if not smarter, then we're going to have problems, you know what I mean? But, like, I mean, I just like to make it really black and white. Like, I know what the fuck's going on, okay? Sure, okay? You like your women to shut the fuck up and no one else to look at them.
Do you want to hear
that? I hate it when I have a girlfriend with big boobs and everyone else stares at the boobs. I'm like, you motherfuckers, so stop looking at my fucking girlfriend. She's my, you know what I mean? And like, I take it on the chin. I'm a fucking man. I deal with it and I move on. But lucky, she's coming home to me and, we're in love and everyone else can look at her as much as she wants. Okay, cool. No worries.
But you want to hear the irony,
man? They've taken it to the fucking next extreme.
Hey, do you want to hear it? Do you want to hear where it comes from?
Look at them. Like,
do you want to hear where it comes from?
Where?
Okay, Muhammad had.
I read an article.
Muhammad had his original wife, and he got married 8 times more, mostly for alliances.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he had no kids with these women.
Yeah.
For all I know, he was a chaste guy that just wanted to fucking meditate and worship God, and he had to marry for alliances. But the point was, how you would get to Muhammad, the gatekeepers were the 8 wives.
Yeah.
So what they would do, and they would live in very modest conditions. They all lived like in the same house.
Yeah.
And at the front of the house was like a veil.
Yeah, right.
So you would go in front of the veil. Literally what separated the wives from the outside, it's as if instead of these windows I had a fucking veil.
Yeah, right.
And you'd go behind the veil and talk to the wives, to talk to Muhammad, to intercede. So you would ask favors. You'd get on your knees and beg these women through the veil to give them whatever, some privacy. If they wanted to be naked in their own freaking house or something, to do stuff. And somehow, as I said, there's always enough material if you're creative.
Yeah.
Some mullah somewhere read that and go, oh, women should wear veils.
Yeah.
Like,
It's really important to not to fall into the culture trap with this sort of thing, because this is what there's, and I distinctly call it a culture trap. It's saying people copping out and saying, oh no, that's just their culture. And I refuse that, and I will always argue to the death about that, because culture is not your friend. Culture is a fucking preconditioned programming system which allows basically conservative nature, things to stay the way they are without any radical change. So culture with the Muslim faith allows women to have less privileges, rights, whatever, than men do. That's something I can't sign up for. I've got to think that male, female, whatever, you have exactly the same rights. You're a human being, and you deserve to do exactly what that other person does. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what's written in a book. I don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter. That's got nothing to do with me. What it's got to do with is the fact that there's a female. Okay, that is not that is not able to live as full a life as another human being.
Let me actually let me have a fucking swing of that beer, man.
Yeah, man. Fucking you have to get involved.
This is feral. It's pretty feral at the podcast. You're drinking like 1 liter.
No, I'm drinking Tallies, and we're talking about legit shit. So there you go, man. Fucking bogans can be smart too.
Yeah,
that's right.
All right, now look, I'm gonna disagree with you on this a little bit. Like, you're right. I believe 100% the men, women, and this is kind of where I wanted to go with this, should have the same rights and the same opportunities, right? Yep. But I think that there's something really, really sick about the world today and what feminism has become today, right? Yeah. Because you have this society, and to give you some background, like all of this came, I was reading something Shannon sent me on Facebook, and it was about how, protests in the street in Bosnia, blah, 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 even women who were so badly oppressed came out in the streets, and I wanted to puke, because, alright, this is Bosnian culture, to give you some fucking idea, right? Women run shit. Every household is run by women.
Yeah.
The man brings home the money and hands over his salary to the wife, who decides where they go, what they spend the money on. Is there a holiday?
We're not talking about what goes on in the house. We're talking about what goes on in fucking society.
And look, and I'm going to continue. The way men and women interact is that there is still a traditional thing of courtship where men practically play Romeo. Yeah. Scrape the floor with their knees and profess their eternal love, and women go, oh, well, maybe, I don't know. Yeah. You're going to have to do better than that. But it is, look, A, primarily it's a matriarchal society, and B, women are...
behind closed doors, it might be.
But what open door is? Okay, here's my problem with the criteria of, we're going to count the fucking female politicians and the female CEOs, and we're going to say society ain't equal.
No, I'm not for that, you know what I mean? But, I'm for the fact that, whatever a man deserves, a woman deserves, you know what I mean? But women aren't the ones fucking, really advocating for them to wear the burqas. You know what I mean? There might be obviously a few, but
my fucking point
is obviously a fucking a male control based fucking
My point is regarding the whole burqas, right? I don't. If I had daughters, even if I had Muslim close friends that wore burqas, I would actually advocate, man, do you really need that? I think you should, take it off or whatever. But at the end of the day, I think that, if
I think you could leave it at that. At the end of the day, you think.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they're not allowed to.
No.
Because when you think and you ask the question why, then that's not something that's going to fly.
Let me put it to you. All right. In Bosnia, the opposite is the case.
Yeah.
The city I'm from is a very type of European metropolitan city, and if you're going out wearing the fucking burqa,
you're going out to blow out.
You are frowned upon.
Yeah.
Like, people look at you like, what the fuck? Like, this isn't Africa. Like, like, people... Yeah. I've seen shopkeepers be rude. I've seen cars...
Isn't there a fucking Australian political party trying to get... anti-Islamic party trying to get in?
I don't know, like, hear me out. Like, I've seen people in Bosnia, like, you know when you have puddles?
Yeah.
And there's, like, a burqa woman? I've seen people swerve so they can hit the puddle and spray the burqa woman.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Shit.
So, like, okay,
that's fucking rough.
I come from a city where...
At least you won't get any dirt on her.
But the point is this: like, if you want to wear that shit, you should. Like,
This is the thing. I don't think it's like if you want to wear that shit. I don't think that's even like a fucking question mark. Do you want to wear that shit? Well, I don't want to get stoned to death, so I'm gonna fucking wear it. Like,
so here's my concrete answer, right?
Okay, yeah.
If a country, has plenty of liberality. Yeah. If we're talking France, if we're talking Turkey, the notion of banning the burqa, I'm against that. Like, if you want to wear it, wear it. But if we're talking...
No, banning it, yeah.
If we're talking Saudi Arabia, where you get stoned, no, that is fucking wrong, man. That is, that is terrorism against women. I don't think, the litmus test would be a wife with kids... out with no burqa everywhere, not getting hassled at all. If that is possible, if people are accepting of that, then we're cool.
Yeah.
Then you can wear it or not wear it. And then maybe your family is going to put pressure, but fuck, like, you can't mandate freaking, individuals to change their values.
Definitely not.
You can mandate laws, to be fair. You can mandate the way you interact with strangers, to be fair. But you cannot mandate what values someone tries to push onto their kids. At the end of the day, there's got to be some level of individual freedom. But my point is, there are women, especially in the West, that want to wear that for whatever bizarre reason.
They can do whatever they want. But we're not talking about those women. What we're talking about is that they're not born with that blank slate. They're born into the control structure of, this is your job, you look after the house, you stay out of sight, and you shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm talking about. I'm not really talking about, the people who want to wear it, or they have the fucking,
look, you and I are on the same page.
Talking about the people who don't have even a fucking voice to even speak about it, not even consider it because they haven't been educated. You know what I mean? They're just used as people to have sex with and fucking, like, procreate and have babies and fucking clean the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, you and I are on the same page.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, The bit where I have trouble is, they're going, oh, women are not equal, like, brain surgeons and shit. Wait, like, just look at the physical differences between men and women, right? Like, if you're going to need somebody to stand security, the odds of finding a suitable male versus a suitable female are, like, 8 times higher.
Yeah.
If you need somebody to completely detach from their emotions and whatever's going on at home, and get a 2-hour job done, I don't care. Men are better at that shit. Yeah. There is a reason most pilots are men and most surgeons are men. And that reason is a very simple one. It's that men and women have different amounts of different hormones and different brain pre-wiring, which predisposes them to different things. Don't get me wrong, the best pilot in the world could be a woman, and the best surgeon of all time could be a woman. I'm not saying women cannot be something. That's bullshit. That women, like, there is no.
But are they only so good because they're up against the system which is created by the male mind?
I think, look, like, my point is...
They're sort of, if you're saying that it's like, hormones and yada yada, then, if they were to create the system of surgery, would then more women be better at surgery than men?
Here's the thing. I do, like, a class in like gifted kids, robotics. They're like 10, 11, 12, 13. I don't know, like 11 to 13 years old. And 17 kids, 4 girls, and 2 girls are the best in that class. And it's usually that way. Like when I taught in high school, I have 2 girls and 12 boys, and one of the girls was the best in the class. Yeah. The point is, there are overwhelming predispositions of a sex.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't want people to frame this in a fundamentalist way. And the fundamentalist way of framing it, are you saying women are not as good as men? No. For fuck's sakes, there are tendencies that make a greater number of one sex predisposed to a job than the other. Like, you see...
Definitely.
That's just natural.
Women,
and what we
women are much better at doing the dishes than men are. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
All
I'm
right.
just fucking that's
Yeah, you had to, man. You had to. But, you know, what are we measuring society as? You know, we're looking at, politicians, bankers, lawyers, surgeons, pilots. Like, I think the fucking holiest of jobs on planet Earth is raising kids. I don't think that there is...
Definitely.
I honestly don't think that there is a more important thing that a human being can do.
Yep.
I don't think that the guy fucking running the nuclear reactor is doing a more important job than a mother.
Yep.
And we've somehow conned the women into saying, wait, you should like run after this career thing and just ditch your kids at some daycare to be taken care of because you're being oppressed!
But no, I don't know, man. I don't think that's been a sort of concept which has really been strived for. I think it's more so for the fact of people at the top of the economic pyramid saying that, oh, look, if we fucking get women to work, then we get a lot more money. You know what I mean?
Look, man, I agree with that.
That's what it's all about.
I agree
you know
with
what
that.
I mean?
But
It's rich getting richer, you know?
No, but the women bought the bullshit. The women bought the bullshit. They bought the bullshit of, you want the career. And don't worry, you know, we have experts that are taking care of your kids.
I think that's just progress, and that's just the way that it should have turned out. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong. Like, I mean, I personally sit on the side that, you know, the world would be a much better place if there was fucking a lot more women in politics. You know what I mean? I think, you know, with their, you know, caring nature, would be in a lot less shit than male power-driven fucking pieces of shit.
Look at what just like a minority of women make great pilots or great surgeons. The minority that succeed as politicians have been absolute scumbags. I mean, think of like Susan Rice. You know, think of Condoleezza Rice. Think of,
but they're fighting a man's game.
Yeah,
there's not enough females. They don't have fucking critical mass to be able to, you know. They're just turning into the male fucking left brain dominating fucking power driven structure. You know.
No, but what I'm saying, Shaun, what I'm saying, rather than the game is rigged this way.
Yeah.
We have enshrined male values.
Yeah.
And we are saying world is not fair because women are not as successful as men at these male value things.
Yeah.
And I think we should enshrine female values.
Fuck it.
I fucking think
definitely.
I
don't think you'd have to be an absolute fucking absolute idiot to think that any differently than that. Like, of course, you know, in a harmonious, you know, world, you would want female, you know, values that are related to the system which you live under, such as economic, political, or whatever. You, of course, you know, females are, you know.
Nurture.
Your mother is always like, you know, the person you want to talk to if you need some sort of like emotional stability or anything like that. Like, you know, most people's mothers, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah, definitely, they're obviously, you know, a lot more connected with their emotional side than men are.
So,
you know?
So in other words, to just put it in like 2 sentences, right? We framed this debate as in world is women. All the goals in your life have been based on fucking male stereotypes.
Yeah.
And you should be as good as men at doing these fucking things. Otherwise, you're oppressed.
Yeah.
And we're going to ignore, you know, we don't we do not celebrate a good mother like 1% as much as we should in this society.
Right.
Like, so much of what I am, I owe to my mother. Like, we don't celebrate things that have to do with care and nurture. Like, you look at somebody with a beautiful home or a beautiful garden, with things that are... people just don't... You're about to say
No. Yeah. I'm just saying it's unfortunate that we've gotten to a point where raising children... you need to be paid to raise children.
Yeah.
But we've gotten to a point where you literally either need to go and work, or you need to get X amount of money from the government, or there's no way you can survive. There's fucking no way. There's absolutely no way. And then, the parents are away, there's no emotional support for the children, you come home after a fucking 10-day wow. Look, it's a fucking... It is a perpetuation of the system, the economic system which we live in. Can we go back to Israel for a bit now? Have you got something else to say on that? Or?
I was going to say something along the lines of, I think that, alright, nurturing, nourishing, growing, healing are sort of female values, right? That I think the world's missing. And to a large extent, despite, being a reasonably goal-oriented, personality A male type, I do my very best, as you can see, with the garden and then the chickens there, to, like, personally embody that. But in a sense, occasionally when chicks come here, and very often they just do this shit way better than I do. Yeah. Purely on some instinct that I feel like, holy shit, like, this is what the world is missing. More women that care for our everything, that nurture plants, animals, environment, communities. It's like when we all get together, it's wives that plan the fucking dinner and then figure out, like, intuitively who's gonna get along with whom. Like, you've seen those wedding plannings, like, it's like the glue that sticks everything together, and that type of really emotionally intuitive, social nurturing thing is, we tell ourselves, we tell women that that's nothing, and that what they should strive for is to be CEO or president or fucking whatever well-paid job that this society holds up, and which And no, I think this is anti-women. I think a society where, where women make up 50% of the population of CEOs that fundamentally cut corners, costs, and destroy lives for a living.
But, like, if it got to critical mass, would they do it? Would they do the same?
Yes, probably, because the way that... Look, if the system is structured to reward certain behaviors... The only way to have that job is to perpetuate those behaviors. But if it was flexible, if women were in power and what they did wasn't sort of preordained, it wasn't systematically looked,
women just, I believe, have less of a drive for, it's simply probably to do with the fact that they they can produce a life in their body, and if they have done it before, then, they understand what happens when you make these drastic decisions which ruin a lot of people's lives, to cut corners in business, or to save money, or to cut 10,000 jobs, or like to, hypothetical. It's like, they know they have a internal instinct of the hurt that it takes, and if there's enough women involved, then hopefully the system would change for the better.
Check this out. This out. This was like the most common sense way to run society I've ever heard of, and it's one of those American tribes. I don't know if it was the Mohicans or something like that, but the Cherokees. I don't know which one, but you can look this up. These American Indians had a system where a council of women gets together and chooses the chief. And they can get together and replace him at any time they want with another chief. So in effect, like, you get males which can make snap, executive logical decisions and weigh the pros and cons passionlessly and just, make good executive decisions on a continual basis. That's what kind of men are good at.
Yeah.
If I get stuck into a task that is challenging, I can completely ignore the rest of my life. There could be a girl with the that I'm thinking about, that I was thinking about 8 hours a day. But if I immerse myself into something, I can ignore anything. Women actually generally can't do that. So like, men can do this bang, 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 bang stuff. And women have that inherent wisdom to know people, man.
Yeah. Like,
I'd trust 5 women to pick pick someone who's going to be honest and with integrity over 5 men.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, so in a sense, they hold the power. Because you have to be pleasing majority of women to actually be in charge.
Yeah.
So it's their values that are represented.
Definitely.
But the executive decisions are made by a male. It was just like, I was just thought about it, and man, I'm like, this shit just fucking makes sense. And it was on a Manly P. Hole lecture that I heard of it.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. And I love Manly P. Hole, by the way. I don't know if you ever heard
of
him.
I haven't.
Alright, now go back to Israel. I think now I've actually exhausted what I had to say about women. And feminism.
Fuck, alright, well, we got that one out of the way. Where was I? So, I'll skip, we talked enough about the religious side of things, so, it's still religion, it's all based on religion, but, so, we did, we're in Bethlehem. I'll just give you a bit of a rundown on, the, Palestinian people, because, it's something that you got to see to understand, okay, I don't know if I was sort of subjected to, a unique situation there, but, me and Tess had a sort of overwhelming sense that these people are extremely genuine. They're extremely. Look, I don't even know the words to describe it, but they're definitely are very resilient and very trustworthy, very understanding, very whatever people. There was this particular taxi driver that when we were at Christmas Eve in Bethlehem, and he said, "Look, I'll take you around to all the Banksy artworks, and I'll take you around to all the Jewish settlements and that sort of thing, so we could look at them." So we got in the cab and we're asking question after question because we're like, "Fucking, this is the most interesting shit I've ever heard," and he's taking us around to different places, and he's taking us up to places where there are soldiers, because there were so many soldiers in Bethlehem that night, because the Palestinian Prime Minister came for the midnight mass, and it was about 11 o'clock, so there was just soldiers everywhere, and there was an instance where he took us to a particular Banksy artwork, and there was a Muslim soldier with the gun on and everything, actually praying, on his knees on a bit of carpet, praying near the artwork. Nothing to do with the artwork, but just praying. And the taxi driver's like, "Oh, could you move for a sec?" And he's like, got up and he's like, "I'm so sorry. Please take a photo. No worries at all." And the police actually were moving cars out of the way for us so we could take pictures. Every time we saw a Palestinian soldier, hi, waving, and Tess is there, and she's pretty, so they're all waving to her and trying to talk to her, and just the most genuine, they really, and funnily enough, they're really happy. It's fucking crazy, and the stories that they.
So you're dude, I might turn on the air conditioning, because
man, it's fucking warm. Hey, I mean, you're a good-looking man, but not that hot,
All right, Shawnee. We left off. You were basically talking about the site in somewhere in Israel or in the Palestinian territories where people that were praying move out of your way, so you can take some photos of some cool sites, and the people are really nice.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, this particular taxi driver, it was really a unique experience, and he he took us through all the sites and he told us a lot of stuff. He couldn't be videoed. We wanted to get a bit of footage of him, but he said he couldn't because if it got on the internet, then he can get arrested and go to jail forever. So he already spent a year in jail because his brother was suspected of something. He said it could have been something. Who knows? I don't know. But they can be locked up without. They can be locked up without any court
evidence,
any court, nothing. So guilty until proven innocent, sort of thing. So but really genuine person. He sort of he took us through through Bethlehem, showed us all the Banksy artworks, and he at one point we're asking so many questions, so interesting, going, this is unbelievable, that he started crying because he was like, I didn't know anyone cared about us at all. He goes, I didn't know anyone even thought about the struggles that we have to go through here, just in our daily lives. You know what I mean? And
he spoke English, I imagine.
Yeah, he spoke English, and he was Muslim, and he was he was just really unaware that anyone even knows anything about the plight of what they have to go through in their everyday life. They're not allowed to, just driving down the street, they can get pulled up, they can get put, just ridiculous sort of stuff. So, it was really great that we got to be able to travel around with him for a couple of hours. But then when we're in Bethlehem, for Christmas Eve, there was a big sort of mass on and big to do. And they were, because they're all Muslim, they were all just there for a party. They weren't really there for anything in particular. They were all just there to have a good time. And they were getting, everyone was getting pictures with me, pictures with Tess, pictures with just all these Muslim boys and that. I can't believe, thank you so much for coming. Every soldier was shaking our hands, was thank you so much for coming and visiting, thank you, with machine guns loaded, it's cars stopping and trying to speak to Tess and that because she had no headscarf on, and just speaking to 5 guys in a ute with fucking all machine guns, and they're like, oh, thank you, it's so good to see you, and all this. I'm not fucking with you, it was so surreal, man, and it actually sort of makes me a little bit emotional every time I talk about it, because when you know what they have to go through, and the injustices that they, for interest sake, he goes, see that we're on a hilltop and there was a bunch of light, a part on the other hill that was just all lit up, and all the other houses, all the other dwellings and everything around that were all in darkness, because that was a Jewish settlement. So there's only electricity that can go to that place, and all the rest, all the Palestinians don't have electricity, and their water's rationed, and they're it's absolutely incredible when you stand there and go, fucking what sort of world are we living in? Hey, when I lived in Libya, obviously there was a lot of Palestinian refugees, and I can't remember vaguely from school, but a lot of the best students were Palestinian, and my mom noticed the trend, and we met a couple of those people. They were over, I don't know how true this is, but they said that Palestine had one of the highest literacy rates in the world, they're quite well educated. I imagine, paradoxically, probably for very similar reasons that got the Jews to shine over, the last 2,000 years of history. It was because they were held down and oppressed everywhere they went. Yeah. And when
they got the power and they went into the role of the oppressors, it's almost like their level of consciousness started sinking to some shitty fucking place, and the people that they were oppressing then, I don't know, take on the mantle and rise above it somehow to get their, you know, real human qualities to shine through. Do you see what I mean there?
Definitely.
Like, it's some real bizarre paradox where the closest thing to Jews in the fucking 21st century is Palestinians. And like, that's just, that is hard to wrap your head around.
Well, I think, essentially, like, if you're looking at human psychology in the way of how I saw it over there, is that the more that you're oppressed, the more that you band together and you become a family. Like he was saying that, big families here, and if something happens to one of us, then it just gets looked after by everyone else. You know what I mean? And the more that they're constricted, the tighter they become as a unit. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you know, like he was saying, look, the capital of my country is Bethlehem, and Temple Mount. That's because after the 6-day war, 40-day war. I don't know. Sorry, 40-day war. In 1940, 1960 or something.
68. There was a war in 68.
Yeah. That was the one where Israel took Bethlehem because they lost it. And like this is the generic structure of what happens once there's a conflict. Is that when Israel and Palestine have some sort of war or an Israeli citizen is killed from a terrorist attack or something, then Israel occupies a new area. So wherever
they never relinquish it. Never relinquish it.
And that's the fundamental basis of against all international law and all everything. You know what I mean? Like, not one body or country recognises any of the Israeli settlements in the whole world, and apart from Israel, so it's anyway. So we did a double narrative tour, and we wanted to sort of experience both sides, because there's two sides to every story. So we went to Hebron, which is sort of a fairly significant sort of place. They hold like the Torah scrolls there and that sort of thing in the Israeli settlement. So we went on a tour through the Palestinian side, we had dinner in a Palestinian house, and they basically told us, this guy that had this house was about 400. Look, I don't even remember, but this house was hundreds and hundreds of years old, and Israel basically tries to buy houses off Israeli. Israel tries to buy Palestinian homes, and to the point of like we're talking like tens of millions of dollars for a house this big. For a house this big, just so that they can occupy it, like just so they can take it, and they can class new settlement. So, basically, this poor guy, his wife was going upstairs because they don't have plumbing in Palestine. They haven't got the plumbing because they don't have the water infrastructure or anything like that. So she was going upstairs to the rainwater tank to get. This is just on the sort of Israeli settlement / border of sort of Palestine, one of the Israeli settlements, and she was going up to get some water of a morning, and one of the Israeli settlers shot her in the fucking head, and she died, and then he basically he's got a new wife now, and then his son was going to the shop to buy some lollies, and the Israeli settlers threw fucking acid on his fucking head, and he's in hospital, and now he can't see, and he's like, like it's just incredible. And the thing about all the Israeli settlers is that they pick the most fundamental Jews, the Orthodox Jews, to live in the settlements, and they hold all the sort of they basically, if you live in the settlement, then you just study the Torah, and so you're completely and utterly indoctrinated by their religion.
My understanding was as well that they use economic conditions, as in a house in Israel costs $1 million or whatever, $500,000. But if you're willing to live in a settlement, we'll get you one for $50,000. It'll be like 20 times. It'll be 20 times less than a house in Israel.
The settlement. You get paid. You get paid to live in the settlement, and it's also free. So you get a free house, and you get actually paid. There's two in the particular Israeli settlement that we went to.
So you get paid to steal land.
No, you don't just get paid. You get close to, I think it was, we worked it out to like 2,500 Australian dollars like a month to live in the settlement.
Wow.
And then not only that is that you have to. Okay, so there was 2,500 Israeli settlers living in the particular settlement that we were visiting, and there was 20,000 soldiers looking after it. 20,000 soldiers.
That is like the epic height of insanity. And if somebody from the government that perpetuates that ever says that they want peace, like, how the fuck can you want peace if you're paying people to occupy stolen land?
Not only paying,
and then paying for
the army to make sure that there's no conflict there, like 10 to 1. 10 to 1. And then, so we had to go through a few checkpoints. This is something that I'll never forget in my life. We went through this checkpoint, and there was this poor guy in front of me who was Caucasian. And, he was a bit dark-skinned. And this Israeli soldier grabbed his gun, came up, and he was right in front of me, and he screamed at him, "What religion are you?" I was like, what the fuck? And the guy's like, I'm Christian. And he's like, oh, okay, alright, you can pass. Like, literally, grab his gun, what fucking religion are you? And I'm like, are you fucking serious? I never thought I'd hear that in my life. What religion are you? Or you can't pass and you're going to get arrested, sort of thing. If you said you're Muslim, done. Yeah. Crazy, eh? But, so, I mean, obviously there's two sides to every story, and then we went through, had dinner at a Palestinian's house, and okay, so it's overwhelming. The Israel has all the fucking weapons, they have all the money, they have everything that they need to protect themselves, and they're extremely well protected, and they've got a shitload of nuclear weapons, which is really scary after you have a sort of a bit of a look around at the sort of mentality that there is around there, because especially with this Iran thing sort of poking its head out every now and then, I think if there's anyone that's going to use another nuke ever, then you'd have to put your money on Israel for sure.
That just worries me. That worries me a lot, mate.
It's really crazy, hey. It's really crazy. Look, it was extremely interesting going and seeing the two sides and just really getting involved in fucking the plight of the Palestinian, you know what I mean? Just the life of the Palestinian, and once again, I don't fucking have anything against Jews. I don't have anything against whoever, all just people living different lives, doing different things. It all just comes down to the fact of who raises the first sort of violent act, and that's the person who's at fault. It's happening all the time over there, and there's just these religious groups with kids. We went to a couple of houses, and there was just religious camps basically of all these 10 or 15 like little kids that just study the Bible and just get raised
Torah,
they study the Torah, and you know, they're just in this house. And there's all these Palestinian houses, like, you know, just it's sort of just off a bit in the distance, like a couple of 100 metres away, just all surrounded around them. And they're just like, because Israel, like, well, an Israeli person got murdered there 50 years ago, so we just occupy that territory now. That's what happens. And then these people just go there, and there's like fucking 50 soldiers, like, you know, just like, you know. Maybe not 50, but like, you know, there's all these soldiers with machine guns just protecting this one house. You know what I mean? Because they're like, well, if you kill an Israeli, then we're going to take your land off you, and that's pretty much the plight of Israel at the moment. So if there's any conflict, Israel just take more land. And if you do see maps, you know, 50 years ago,
I've seen those maps.
50 years ago, 80% of Israel was Palestinian, and now, you know, you're lucky to have 20% being Palestinian.
I'm going to write down 212, and we'll insert that map. We'll insert that map. Dude, like, I don't, like, yeah, man, this shit's heavy.
It's super heavy, man.
I think you would have been in I don't know.
It was tough, man. It definitely wasn't holiday, but it was sort of like tough, and like, I mean, even getting the fuck out of the country, getting in and out, like, because we went through Jordan and we went to Petra and the ruins there and that. And just getting in and out of the country, it's just so hard, man. Like, just they search everything. They rip your bag apart 3 times. They question you. Because me and Tess have been to quite a few Muslim countries, they literally held our flight up to question me and to question Tess just to leave the fucking country. Like,
what kind of questions did they ask?
My father's name, his occupation, you know. Where I was born, what I like. This happened just repeatedly, over and over. Everything, you know, just
like, honestly, especially if you're leaving, you gotta go. I don't know, man. Like, I would be afraid that they're crazy, man. I mean, I would probably answer all the questions, but, you know, part of me would want to say, like, dude, none of your business.
That's it. But
what do you care?
I don't want to say that to them. I don't want. You just fucking try and make it as easy as you can on yourself. But yeah, yeah. I mean, look, you know, it's not like, you know. Obviously, we met a lot of Jewish people, and they're all fine. You know what I mean? They're all good people, and they're all like, you know, they're just in a fucking extremely tough position through the people who make judgment calls on their behalf. You know what I mean? There's a lot easier way to do things. You know what I mean? There's confrontation and there's no confrontation.
You've been there. I'm gonna float my theory on it, and you just let me know what you think.
Yep.
But I think that you could form any type of worldview if you start early enough.
Yeah.
And I think that Israel is based on a brainwashing that takes decades in order to make Palestinians believe. In order to make Israelis believe that Palestinians are inhuman. And I think the whole state rests on this. No matter how enlightened an Israeli may be, in other words, but that most of them, I think, have 2 ideas brainwashed deep into their psyche. One is that, you know, this land belongs to us, it's God-given. And the other is that these other Arabs are animals.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, you go to that place, and you're otherwise in presence of good human beings, a lot like you and me, who have, probably through no fault of their own, but through, you know, 20 years of inculcated repetition, come to accept that this is our holy land, we're the chosen people, and those guys are animals. And I think it's based on a successful brainwashing campain.
Definitely.
That got people to accept those 2 ideas, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even going through some of like the houses protected by the soldiers of the Israeli settlers, and they don't like, there was this incident that happened 70 years ago, 50 years ago, I don't fucking know, that involved some Palestinians getting knives and going around and killing Israeli people, and so we've gone into this house for tea, and they've just laid this on it. Like, this is the Israeli side of the double narrative tour. They've just laid it on that 50 years ago the Arabs came through and they stabbed like 10 people, and fucking but this is the language that they use is that actually, like, say the Arabs is not, they're not people, that is Arabs, and they're, you know, they're like the enemy sort of thing, you know what I mean? It's not like some people came through and they stabbed it. It's like the Arabs, the Arabs, the Arabs, the Arabs, the Arabs, the Arabs, and you're like, well, okay, yeah. But then and then they said, so that's why we occupy this place now, because these people died. And then you're like, but then part of that story also is that there was these Arabs. When that was happening, that actually protected like hundreds of Jewish people. Like, they hid them in closets and that, and people were trying to come in and stab them and that, and kill them. And the Arabs said, you're not allowed to come and hurt these people. They're our friends. You can't do that. And this was a big thing. And then sort of Tess brought up the perfect point of like, well, why is it that you decide to persecute these people for stabbing them when you had like that many lives saved by Arabs? Why is it not that you look kindly upon Arabs instead of persecuting them and taking all their land off them? Why is, you know, sure, there was some renegades that went and killed these people, and that's terrible, and they deserve to be put to justice through legal means and all the rest of it, but you know, all these Arabs that stood up for the Jews, and they hid them, and they said you can't come in, and like some Arabs got stabbed by other Arabs because they were protecting Jews. It's like, well, why didn't you, like, you know, fucking like basically thank the Arabs? Why didn't you say, well, you know, you saved that many lives, you know, you don't deserve to have any land taken off them? So it's just a way, like, with this whole story, it's just
and I wonder what was the answer to something like that. Probably silence, well, you know, like, or...
No, well, you know, this was a discussion after the fact, you know what I mean? And like, I'll be, you know, Tess was very outspoken with it, like, very outspoken, but like, I mean, it's sort of, things are said, and then you're sort of like, hold on, and then, like, you know, it takes you a while to comprehend. Like, they're like, okay, there was a war, and then Israel won, so then they took the settlement, and then this and this and this and this, and then you're like, hold on, why did you take the land? And like, why is it, like, you know, so, like, there's a lot of questions that just got put up, and there's no logical reason for it. It's just the fact that they want to kick Palestinians out of Israel, and that's it. That's the bottom line. Yeah. It
really boils down to just, you know, a lie repeated 1,000 times somehow becomes the truth.
Yeah.
And these people seemingly live in a bubble where all the information about the conflict comes from other Israelis. Yeah. It's all approved, and it's repeated 1,000 times, and
yep.
and to them that's their reality.
That's it, yeah.
And somehow, like, the other part of the reality just gets ignored. Like, I don't know. I've had chats, you know, even on Facebook with, like, heartfelt chats with freaking Israelis on things like that, and you know, they make valid complaints saying, this is what happened to my parents who are Jews and this and that, but no, I don't dispute any of it, but it's like one side of the story.
Yeah.
Why don't you compare that, your story, to the life of the average Palestinian, and you'll realize that...
That's right, yeah. But no, like, you know, you have to consider them as subhuman. You can't.
They're the Arabs.
Like, yeah, you can't consider them.
And I mean, what fucking sucks is, like, they call it anti-Semitism. I mean, like, Arabs are fucking Semites.
Yeah.
You know, there are two types of Jews. There is the Sephardic Jews and the Ashkenazi Jews, and like, minority of the Jews are actually Semites.
Yeah.
Who originate from this from Judea, from Israel, Palestine. I mean, it was called Judea, then it was called Palestine. Israel's a reasonably new name.
Yeah.
And the Ashkenazi, which is the majority of them, originate from, like, Eurasia and Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
And yet, and the Jews lived in Judea alongside Arabs happily, without bloodshed and conflict, for thousands of years.
Definitely, yeah.
And then this thing called Israel comes along that's imposed on this area, and then they hate each other.
Yep.
And I think everybody becomes more miserable. I think...
Could you just look this up for me, because this is something I have to get my head around. I've been told, I'm led to believe that Israel and Islam have the same God.
Yeah.
They both worship Allah?
No. They're both would be called Abrahamic religions, right?
Yeah.
So they start with Abraham, who sacrifices a goat instead of his son, and with Moses, who is Musa in Arabic and Musa in Islam, who lays down the 10 commandments from God, and he's the first messenger. So, in other words, Moses happens to be like the first messenger of God, and he's followed by Jesus, and Muhammad is the last one, and that's Islam.
Yeah.
So according to Muslim faith, the God that they worship is the same monotheistic. It's like Judaism is like the...
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, there's a difference between Muslims and Christians fighting, and then there's a difference between maybe Jews and Christians fighting. But when Muslims and Jews fight, and they've got the same God, when you die, so like, are you going up there with the staunch belief going that, I'm the fucking right one, you know what I mean? Like, I'm the one that, you want, you know what I mean? Because that's absolutely fucking crazy.
It is.
That's absolutely crazy. Hey,
Islam and Judaism, you're right, it is the same God. And with Christians, there is like a semantic difference.
Yeah.
Being that Christians believe that Jesus was God himself, like an earthly incarnation of the divine ruler of the universe. Whereas Islam and Judaism believe that, like Moses, which they have in common, was a messenger.
Yeah.
Nothing more. But man, I don't know. Usually I have like 100 questions rolling off my tongue, but like this conversation has just left me.
It leaves you dumbstruck, doesn't it?
Yeah, it leaves me dumbstruck and introspective.
No, it does. Yeah, it makes you go fucking like, sort of, how did it all get so complicated, and is it just man's sort of need for. Because with every problem there's always a source, and you try and find the source with it. Is it just man's need for control over other man? Is it what is it that drives the hate, which eventuates from you believe in that, I believe in this, and fucking let's fight, you know what I mean? Like, let's try and live as peacefully together, but soon we're going to fight, you know what I mean? Like,
I think, dude, much like nation state, we used to live in a world where millions of people would line up and die in the name of Jesus or Allah, you would have Jerusalem being conquered and reconquered from Islam and Christians during the time of the Crusades, and it was pure freaking insanity. Like, literally millions of people laying down their lives on some hypothetical idea of some dude who may or may not run the universe. It was in... Then, with Napoleon, the same type of shit starts happening for nation states. And not just, a million people over 2 decades. It's multiple millions over a couple of years. With Napoleonic Wars and then the World Wars, people dying over some idea that, you know, we're fucking Prussians, no, we're the fucking French, we're the British, and we'll die for our... And I think the world has, for the most part, moved beyond that, you know, like, there were Australians volunteering for fucking Vietnam, man, nearly 40 years ago. There is no way, it's hard to visualize, you know, finding 10 people that are so fucking retarded that they'll put their hand up and like to go to Iraq or Afghanistan today. So no, like even Christians and Muslims are, you know, the Muslim terrorist. Like, you literally need to lock kids up in a fucking cave in the middle of nowhere without, you know...
People have gotten too smart, mate.
Yeah, people have gotten too smart.
And thanks to what we're broadcasting on, what we'll be putting this on, the internet.
Yeah.
Because you can self-learn, and that's probably the most destructive thing possible for a system that's based on control. Like, for the education system, it does every single thing in its power to make you think that society runs one way and there's no other possible way it could ever run. That's what the education system does.
Please let me finish the point I was making, which is this. We live in a world where we're generally past the age where people are readily throwing away human life in the name of God, religion, or in the name of country. Israel happens to be the one place, like the remnant, the one place left in the world where this fanaticism still reigns supreme, where these people are willing to murder and die in the name of Israel or whatever they call their God, you know, what is it, Jehovah or
Israel.
God, I mean, you know, they're willing to die for religion and country, is my fucking point. And I mean,
that's crazy.
To a large extent, many of the Palestinians are, and the crazy thing is, it's one last place in the world where this level of human cultural insanity still persists. It's mostly perpetuated by one side, and I mean, I think you've more or less experienced that firsthand, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
But that is it, you know. I would say the brainwashing that you and I are under on a daily basis is a lot more subtle and a lot more complicated, you know, like... People today, you know, to convince a bunch of people to go out and invade a country.
Well, you have to do something like 9/11.
You know, 40 years ago, a guy would get on TV and say they're communists, they're bad, if we don't bomb them, bad things are going to happen, and they'd just do it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You know, now they need to, like... invent Coney 2012. I mean,
so what is your judgment on the reason why that sort of indoctrination system is falling apart? Do you believe that it's some sort of more sort of profound awareness and consciousness level rising, or do you think it's a more physically based, such as people are just can't be sold shit anymore, can't be sold a lie? Or do you think it's more like actually human beings are spiritually getting to a consciousness level?
It's a good question. You know,
that's something that
I would love.
Yeah,
I would love to subscribe to the consciousness, to the higher consciousness thing.
Like just critical mass of human beings, and we're interacting at the moment, which increases the level of consciousness through sending this shit out on the internet. And so, do you think it's like
it's
that,
both,
or do you think
it's both? All right, for a minority of people, for people like us, I suppose, we have a passion for fucking figuring out what the fuck's going on, right? And enough drive to have a conversation like this, put it online, or participate in forums, or rock up to a protest, and then talk to as many people that want to hear about it as we can. But for the most part, we put our voice out there, and people much smarter than us put it more coherently. I mean, like, you can look at Global Research TV or Corbett Report or and Stop Imperialism, blah, 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 rattle off a bunch of websites. But I'd say what it is for most people, they get exposed to this alternative media.
Yep.
They don't dig deep, but all their lives, people have been trying to sell them shit.
Yeah.
Buy this shirt. Buy these fucking Transformers. You're not a good boy if you don't have your own Optimus fucking Prime. Yeah, like play with Barbie. Fuck, Big Mac, is happiness. Coca-Cola is whatever, without a bottle of Coke you can't enjoy life.
Yeah.
The point is, this generation that's around today has been sold shit ever since they got out of the womb.
Well, that's the baseline of the economic system.
Yes.
If there's no consumption, then there is no growth, and then there is no economic system.
And I think to an extent they've gone numb to the sales pitch. And now,
how much can you interact with? How many advertisements? Like when I see like ads on TV and shit, and how much they must pay for it, I'm like, does that honestly like make people go and buy a Toyota? Does that honestly make people go and buy a Ford? Like, do you look at that ad and you go, Ford? Yeah, I'm gonna fucking buy a Ford. You know what I mean? Because that fucking blows my mind. Like the amount of like millions and millions of dollars that they spend on it just to keep it in about. No, if I'm gonna buy a car, I get the specs of each car, the price, and sure the look to some degree, and then I'm like, okay, well this one's more safe and this one's a bit cheaper, and I'm gonna get that one. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to look at a car and then just sit there and look at an ad and go, that's it. Fucking, I'm buying a car. You know what I mean? That's fuck. I don't like, but I suppose that's the marketing system that at its fullest potential. You know what I mean? Like,
well, think of it this way, right? People are having these sales pitches thrown at them like 783 times a day, right?
Yeah.
And when the sales pitch comes for NATO invading Ukraine in a few weeks, they'll be like, "Yo, like, no, I don't believe you." They've gone numb to the sales pitch, I guess is my point. Merely in 91, when they said they're throwing babies out of incubators, everybody was like, fuck invade Iraq, because they're evil.
And look what happened with Syria. Look what happened. The world stood up and they said, get the fuck out. We are not going to another war. We are not going to fucking go and kill people. Like they were saying, like the fucking what underground media sources say, like non-mainstream. They say that war was stopped through social media. They say that fucking that the uproar that there was through the fact that apparently, allegedly, and this is a big thing. The story that was sold allegedly, used chemical weapons. Assad used chemical weapons. When that story didn't even wash, because we're at a point now where we're like, hold on, we know what the fuck happened in Iraq. Okay. There's no weapons of mass destruction, and 1 million people lost 1 million innocent civilians lost their fucking lives there. And you're telling me you want to strategically bomb a fucking country that is the size of Victoria, the state of Victoria in Australia, with 22 million people? How many people are you going to fucking kill then? Like, you know what I mean? That's how big Syria is. It's the state of Victoria with 22 million people. It's like just under the list of population density is what Australia is. Australia's like 23 or 4 or something, and Syria is just below it. At the size of Victoria, you're like, oh, no, laser guided, it's going to be precise. Yeah, we fucking know what happens when you fucking put laser guided bombs on fucking places. You kill 1 billion fucking people. Like, fuck that, you can't say.
Yeah, look, I'll tell you one thing that woke me up, man. I'm from Bosnia, and basically Serbs in Bosnia committed genocide on like, you could call it the Bosnian or the Muslim part of the population, and then like that's a really a weird term to use, Muslim. I mean, it's kind of like a cultural thing. So you could basically be an atheist for 3 generations, or even a Christian, but if you have a particular surname, you're ethnically Muslim. But long story short, NATO is bombing Serbia.
Yeah.
I am 13 years old, maybe 14, and I am happy. I'm like, fuck yeah, NATO, go bomb it. Because they're committing genocide now in Kosovo.
Yeah.
And, like, even that was when I realized something was very fucking wrong. Because they were bombing hospitals, bridges, power stations. I mean, they fucking sent the country...
In fucking Serbia. Like,
yeah, in Serbia.
In negative 40 degrees. And they're bombing fucking power stations. They'll heat you. Fuck. That's...
Yeah, it gets to minus 20 to be, to be fair, not minus 40, but like...
I thought it was fucking cold there. Well, minus 20 is cold.
The Kosovo's like way south.
Yeah.
And they're bombing Belgrade. There's like, okay, there are people, civilians, whose lives are in danger, but it's like, put it this way. Imagine Americans are oppressing Mexicans.
Yeah.
Right? On the Mexican border.
Yeah.
And you decide to bomb New York. It has... it's absolute nonsense.
Yeah, it's zero effect, yeah.
And, literally, that was one of the things that woke me up the most, because I was expecting to see, them killing all these paramilitary units and stuff like that I thought these guys are fucking terrible, they deserve to leave this earth. But wait a second. Like, they're bombing hospitals in Belgrade, and power stations. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Like, and all the world was cool with it.
Yeah.
And I, as a 13-year-old kid, we've probably a chip on the shoulder, having lost family to fucking Serbs in a war. To me, it was obvious. Like, no, this something is very wrong here. Like, you were.
Well, that's admirable for you to be able to fucking see that at that age. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't even thinking that deeply. So one of the most scary things that I find is when I speak to people who I have respect for, such as my father or my mother or whatever. And I speak to them about the fact that America decides to do things due to economic gains rather than like humanitarian reasons and that sort of thing. Blank wall, canvas, conspiracy theory. No, like and like it's still to the point now that you can't and this happens quite a bit. That no, like that the fact, like Iraq, for example, Saddam Hussein, he's a bad guy, he needed to go. Like, so all the collateral damage, like the conditioning that we have, the conditioning that we have, all the collateral damage, it's worth it. He needed to go. He's a bad guy. Sure, he's a bad guy. He's a fucking absolute psychopath, arsehole, whatever. Fucking deserved to die, yada yada. But if he was still in power, would there be 1 million civilian deaths? Would there be all the heartache and all the fucking family loss and all the psychological damage that the country's been through having a fucking 10-year war? Well, probably not. No, definitely not. So you got to weigh it up. You got to go. Is it worth him fucking staying in there and a dictator staying in there and ruthlessly crushing opposition and he gassed people. He's fucking absolute fucking. He deserved to go, but still, at the end of the day, when we're talking about simple math and the scales that are weighing up, if he was still in power, would more people die? And would more people have better quality of life? Or not? And yes, they would. And they had, Iraq had a welfare system, they had running water, they had fucking, you know what I mean? They had,
Iraqis were not starving, understand?
Yeah, no, they had all, it's not like fucking, they were living in, absolutely disgraceful, disgusting conditions. Their system, they had a system of fucking government in power where people were able to survive and probably reasonably happily. But you destroyed the whole fucking country for whatever reason you want, and then, but the majority of people are sort of like, well, look, it was worth it. It was worth it, and it just blows my mind.
Iraq was becoming practically a global superpower in '91 before they fucking bombed them back to the Stone Age the first time around.
Yeah.
They were the biggest food exporter practically in the world.
Really?
Yeah, they had my parents built 2 electric dams in Iraq.
Oh, right.
They had a surplus of electricity they were exporting it to neighbors, man. They had a surplus
I did not know that. Hey,
they built crazy infrastructure, highways. There wasn't a hungry Iraqi if you looked for one real hard. Now, it was run by a fucking cutthroat dictator that basically annihilated every political enemy he's ever had, and I'm not saying that but in the painting of the picture of what Saddam did and who he was, these are the bits that you never fucking get told.
That's right. Exactly.
And at least about Gaddafi, his social programs, which are fantastic, got heard of before he died. But in the case of Saddam, it's like a totally unknown thing. That he brought, prosperity to Iraq. People lived better, much better, after the first 7-8 years of Saddam than before that,
Isn't it funny? Sorry, I just had a realization. Isn't it funny that we've had this fucking big conversation, all the rest of it, and the reason why we do this sort of stuff is because we need to be able to find truth. And now, when I say truth, it's a good example of what we're just talking about. Truth is that the fact that less people died under Saddam's rule if he was still in power than more people. That's the truth. There are more people if they weren't fucking bombed to the Stone Age. Then the country as a whole would have been better off. Okay, now that's the truth. Now what's the whole reason we do this stuff is because we're just trying to talk truth. We're just trying to actually say what the reality of the world is, and that's how.
I would qualify it and say, we do it because we know that the picture that is out there of the world is incorrect.
Yeah,
and we can arrive closer to the truth. I mean, to say that
the indoctrinate the propaganda system
yes.
is so sophisticated that it's like, for interest's sake, what doesn't work is when people know that they're being controlled by force. Okay, that doesn't work. Because people rise up, there's more people than fucking government, all the rest of it. That doesn't work. That history has shown that doesn't work. But what does work is when people believe they're free, but they're being controlled.
That you're very much right. Yes.
Yes. So. The propaganda system, compared to Nazi Germany, compared to fucking Russia, compared to whatever the fuck, any Mao, whatever, yada yada. The propaganda system which the Western world has at the moment and has had for the past 50 years is so fucking much sophisticated than any other fucking propaganda system that's ever And when you start cutting through the matrix and you actually start seeing what the fuck is going on around you, you're like, hold on, what did that politician just say? And then you have to think about it for a second. And you're like, oh fuck, actually, he's trying to say or like the political language or whatever. I'm getting off the track here, but the political language, we're going, strategically, humanitarianly, bomb something. You're just going to kill people. Oh, okay.
Surgical. We will conduct surgical strikes for humanitarian reasons.
Surgical strike for. So you're just going to kill innocent people? Oh, no worries. Yeah, fucking go for it. You know what I mean? But the language and I'm not even talking about politics and fucking all that. I'm talking about advertising and fucking marketing and
But
Edward Bernays.
I honestly, people look at it and go, "My God, we're so fucked." They are the guys that understand the human psyche the best. The guys that are mapping the brain are the same fucking people figuring out how to get you to buy something.
Yeah.
Guys that are making the best search algorithms. Yeah. That are making artificial intelligence. Google is spending 90% of its energies trying to sell you shit that is related to what your internet activity is. But it also shows you that, man, human beings are getting so much smarter, so much more enlightened. 200 years ago, it'd be like God said to do this, and people would just line up to die. For your country, like 100 years ago. Yes, fucking, where do I sign up to kill Germans? Like, what the fuck have Germans ever done to you? Like what? Some fucking guy on TV has told you, no, that's enough, man. Yeah. You would just have to make up some random bullshit about some people being evil, and you would cause a war.
That's
like,
it.
Today,
it was good and bad. It was like, black and white, good and bad. You know what I mean?
Think about it today.
But now it's like, the good guys are the bad guys, and the bad guys are good. What the fuck?
You need multiple fake terrorist attacks.
Yeah. Yes.
You need advertisements for the military. You need fake on the ground eyewitnesses.
Yeah.
You need fake NGOs, fake humanitarian organizations.
Get this, I was just actually thinking about this before. There was an article I read the other day about Gaddafi's sex dungeons, as sex and rape and fucking yada yada dungeons. No doubt, probably had them. I don't know. I'm not going to consider the fact that they were lying to me about it. Okay, read it, and then I had to think, hold on. Why are they telling me this? Like, why are they telling me this now? Like, you know what I mean? Or like, why is this like, okay, he's been gone for fucking years, he's dead, he's out, you know, and then, so why is it that I need to hear right now about, a dictator that had fucking sex dungeons and all this bad shit he did, you know, we know it was bad, all dictators are bad, you know what I mean? They don't have fucked up shit going on, you know what I mean? But like, when you hear about stuff like that, you gotta think, and
then probably they're telling you the next week after that they'll be pushing something against Assad. But yes, the overarching fucking point is they need the most compelling, convoluted system that attacks you from 5 fronts.
Yeah.
To invade Libya.
Yeah.
They needed to create. They needed to create Al Jazeera. Okay, they needed to create this fucking station of the Arabs and the Arabs Trust that criticized Israel, and then to hijack that as a vehicle to say Gaddafi's bad and the rebels are good. Like, the level of effort that they need to go through.
And here's the beauty about it. Here's the absolute beauty about it. The more complex it is, the better it works. And so you can put layer upon layer upon fucking layer upon layer of lie, cheat, deception. And the more complex it is, the crazier the fucking story sounds, the most unbelievable shit gets, the better it works. In the favour of what they're trying to do. Okay? Because then that's where you get the conspiracy theories, and that's where you get the fucking all...
Yeah.
Like the simple fact is that truth is very simple. Like, really simple. Sort of like, when you're trying to find the truth in something, it's black and white. It's literally, so someone's going to die? Not a good thing. Doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Whoever started that, oh no, we need to bomb them for this and this and this and this. No, someone's going to die? No, we're not going to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's it. Let's talk. We know how to talk. We're fucking, evolved apes. We're fucking let's talk this shit out. Like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Someone's going to die? No, done. Over, I'm out. I'm not going to sign up for that. I'm not going to vote for that person. You know what I mean? Like,
No, you definitely have a point. I mean, I would kind of, if you're gonna entangle some shit, like Goebbels said, if you're gonna lie to the people, make the lie big,
and
repeat it,
and repeat it, and they will eventually believe it.
And they will. Yeah, you're right. So, if I was gonna give advice to people,
weapons of mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction. Sorry, we don't have any. 1 million people dead. Oh, okay. Next war.
Yep. Like, Iraq involved in 9/11 or whatever. Like 9/11 as a whole thing. But I would like put a caveat to that. Like, truth is always simple. What happens is, at the bottom of it, if you can always zoom out and tell the story in a very simple, understandable scenario, which is true.
Yep.
But very often there is a purposeful web of intricacy that's there.
Yep.
That to get to the bottom of it, you have to unwind, you know. And, for instance, if you look at something like 9/11, I would say this idea that the truth is simple, at the end of the day, cost a lot of people an understanding of what went down. Because a lot of people said, well, it's a government inside job, they did it, da-da-da, or people didn't know it's the fucking terrorist, and this notion of everybody was looking for some simple narrative.
Yeah.
But, you know, the truth of the matter is that you could conclusively prove that they're very powerful people that were taken completely by surprise in the day. So at what level, you know, of who did it? And the truth is, there were some real terrorist-like dudes on those planes, but then there were some totally non-terrorist. You see what I mean? Like, there are subtleties going across the whole range that if you were looking for a simple narrative there...
But there is a simple narrative. There is literally, like, the narrative is that did any part of any Black Ops / American government agency or anything know that it was going to happen / facilitate it happening? Now that's the bottom line. Like, did it? Did they? Didn't they? I don't know. Who knows? The evidence shows that it seems that there was a fucking helping hand along the way for things to go the way they did. Okay, that's what the evidence shows. I don't know how buildings collapse. I'm not a structural engineer. I don't know what the fuck, but the evidence shows that there is far too many variables for some inexperienced pilots to be able to fucking...
Yeah, look, I'm not going to... I'm not going to go into the details of...
We'll go into another 2-hour podcast about 9/11.
But you're...
Next segment.
I just kind of wanted to make this a caveat to that, you know, because I really do agree that the overarching, you know, the greed and power explain most events in the world, and the narrative is you know, you off of what's going on in geopolitics is you can identify certain power cabals expanding their power. It's not about
with the amount of sovereign nations left. Is that what you're talking about?
There is a simple overarching narrative, right? But in order to like diffuse it, you know, you sometimes, and it's a bitch, but sometimes you gotta just dig into the nitty gritty. You know what I mean? Like, and I just wanted to say that, you know, I suppose 9/11 was an example. I think what's going on in Ukraine right now is an example. I don't feel entitled to comment on it quite yet.
No, I don't. Because I'm not too 100% sure about what's going on there either. Hey, like, I've heard a number of different things, but I can't even talk about it. Yeah.
There are genuine, you know, what reality is that you have genuine people that want more freedom, more rights, that fall on the same side as imperialist powers occasionally. Yeah. And then they get supported by imperialist powers, which puts any sane man in a very difficult position. Yeah. You know, Satan sided with the good guys for a week. Now, do I support Satan? Yeah. You know, like, what the fuck is going on? It's really... And in there, you know, to actually understand something like that, you'd really need to read some history, get into the nitty-gritty, and, you know, deal with it one thing at a time. But I would totally say the story of what's going on in the world is a much, much more simple one than what you're being told. Definitely. It's not a series of accidents, coincidences, people reacting to unpredictable situations. So much of what is going on from the economics to the which countries having a war, who's getting invaded. Without doubt. It's generally planned, premeditated.
I think one of the best... Yeah, definitely.
And coherent.
I think one of the best memes I've seen recently on Facebook is
just a picture of nothing, but just a picture of a lake or something, and the words on it saying, "Relax, nothing is under control," and that means so much to me because you know, you put a ripple in the ocean. You know what I mean? You try and control something. Okay, you try and control someone or a country or do whatever you need to. You put a ripple in the ocean, and shit just fucking like goes crazy. You know what I mean? But like, as much as and that's necessarily the fucking problem with the world now, because people are trying to control, you know, everything for their own power grabs, for their own fucking economic interests, for whatever their motives are. But you know, really, the thing is, when you think about it, you know, nothing essentially is actually under control. Everything is all fucking like, you know, you might try and think, okay, if I do that, or if I go to war there, but nothing is under control. And do you know the thing about it is, it's all going to be alright. Like, it's all going to be alright.
I think, like, dude, this is fucking. I love the quote, man. I love the quote. I think we're gonna leave the audience with that message. Relax, nothing is under control.
Yeah, that's right.
You have some power to influence things, but what will be, and it's the reality of the world in a subatomic level. When you look deeper and deeper down, it's like dice flying, things popping in and out of existence, and the people that run this shit, that, you know, are greedily holding on to all the land of power and the resources, are fighting an unwinnable war against the nature of reality.
And we see all around the world these days with Occupy Wall Street, when it was happening, and the Arab Spring and everything, and those shackles are starting to be broken, and people starting to wake up and go, hold on, we can do better than this, and that's why we do these podcasts, and that's why we speak about this sort of stuff.
Yeah. All right, so that's it for today.
Being fucking outstanding.
Relax. Nothing is under control.
Yes, This song is called Be the Change, inspired by the words of Mahatma Gandhi, who lived for peace and not violence, and told us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Freedom's calling, I feel the fire that's deep inside us. Everybody wants change, but tell me who will guide us. To the leaders that pass away, put up your lighters. It's a beautiful struggle, but it cannot divide us. We're the ones that we've always been waiting for. See yourself in the mirror and open up the door. Walk through it and feel the love throughout your pores. Be the light, life's purpose is to feel joy. Metaphysical, lyrical, standing up for truth. The only one to make change is walking in your shoes. Be the example, don't complain about the news. Making music and serving the world with the loo. Now you can be the same, or you can be the change. Find strength from inside, break through the chains. No one to blame, nothing to prove. You create your reality, it's up to you. Be the change
that you wanna see in the world, like Gandhi live for peace.
Aspire to be
someone who fights for the beliefs, like Martin Luther King.
Aspire to be
that love, that light, like Christ, for the moment in need.
And if you believe
in Jehovah, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, it's love to me.
My soul yearns for peace in a world that's flooded with war. History's littered with body scar, trying to settle the score to maintain an archaic platform of power and greed. People fight for land out of survival and need. So I'm killing my television and I'm planting a seed to fill my head with knowledge that I'm seeing receive. Due to the media propaganda killing my creed. Or what don't kill me make me stronger, feeling straight when I bleed. Fighting for interest before it's attached to feet. They try to sell you anything in this world, nothing for free. Land, air, fire, and water, they keep up in the ante, while the anti-proletariat hold the powers to be. But we keep fighting, surviving and thriving, recycling and rhyming. We constantly inclining, we see through the lying and prying. They tactically keep trying to keep you from asking the why.
Be the change that you wanna see in the world, like Gandhi live for peace.
Aspire to be
someone who fights for the beliefs, like Martin Luther King.
Aspire to be
that love,
that light,
like Christ,
for
the moment in need.
possibilities, creating organizations like Aspire to Be, inspiring young minds to see, building life skills, nurturing creativity, fulfilling the youth's basic needs, listening actively, teaching the tools to succeed, positive role models, we plant the seed, the roots drink the water which feed the trees, someone help me, giving back is my responsibility.
Be the change that you wanna see in the world, like Gandhi live for peace.
Aspire to be
someone who fights for the beliefs, like Martin Luther King.
Aspire to be
that love,
that light,
like Christ.
live life.